Hello, I'm Mick, and this is Movies TV Mad. Excuse me, and welcome to Movies TV. Welcome to the Movies TV Mad Daily Live. I am Mick, your host with the most, and welcome to the show. I could sit here listing all the problems that have happened within the DCEU since Man of Steel. I don't need to do that. You don't need to hear that, because I've listed them again and again. We now have brand new leadership that have identified the same issues that I have, that you have, and everybody else has. We do need a DC Studios, but that's not enough, because that would be a fabrication just to say we're doing a DC Studios. They need a proper, vibrant leader who can produce television and film and actually understands these DC worlds, the multiverse, and these iconic DC characters. So there's been this big debate since the big Variety article of a couple of days ago where they mentioned that maybe Discovery are looking for a Kevin Feige figure, but not necessarily a creative supremo, that someone who can band all the kind of different elements of DC together. I would imagine that what they mean is they're not just looking for a creative supremo, they're looking for everyone. Let me say that again. They're looking for someone who can do everything. A creative supremo, but is good at the business side as well. So that actually is a Kevin Feige figure. John, morning Mick, good morning John. So, yes, they are looking for that type of figure. Here's the problem with that. There's no such thing as a Kevin Feige figure, because there's only one Kevin Feige. There's only one person that's been successful in this role. So they don't need a Kevin Feige figure. They need Kevin Feige. Now, I've discussed this before. Now, would Kevin want to run a DC Studios? Is he happy at Marvel Studios? I think he was very happy under Bob Iger and that leadership, where he was left to do whatever he wanted. He controlled everything, and Bob Iger understood there's no need to interfere with what Kevin was doing, because Kevin knows exactly what he's doing, considering him and 5-6 other people launched Marvel Studios. The biggest mistake they ever did was to sell out to Disney. They were doing okay 4 or 5 movies in without them. Now they're controlled by a huge entity. Now there's no Bob Iger. It's Bob Chapek, who is an absolute calamity and a disaster. They sacked, and this was before actually Bob Iger came in, they sacked James Gunn. This was something that Kevin Feige never wanted and fought against from the moment it happened. They managed to get James back. Now James say, look, after Guardians, I'm not coming back. And we know why. Because it's all about loyalty. And no one was loyal to him apart from Kevin. I don't think that Kevin Feige is happy any longer at Marvel Studios. I also feel he's done everything that he could have done. Now he's still doing great stuff. The Multiverse of Madness is obviously going to be a huge movie and a very exciting movie. But I do feel if there was a time to attempt to kind of see the lay of the land and see if Kevin Feige wants to be the president of a DC Studios, it would be now. I would imagine, considering Zaslav and Discovery have been doing a lot of stuff for the past year before they officially took over the company, that, David's been in Hollywood. He's been talking to people. So I would be very surprised if he hasn't spoken to Kevin Feige as well. It wouldn't surprise me if Kevin Feige has been made the offer of heading a DC Studios already. Now, whether he said, look, my loyalty is with Marvel Studios, there's no way I'm going to leave them, or if he's thinking about it, I don't know. But my assumption would be that Kevin Feige has been approached. We've already got Taika Waititi involved in the DCEU. He was in the Suicide Squad, right? He played a little role, a pretty important role, in terms of the development and narrative of Ratcatcher 2. And I think he's going to be doing something else for HBO Max as well. We also now have James Gunn. After Guardians Volume 3, he will be with the DC live action universe full time. Very exciting. So I believe that since James Gunn coming over to DC, these things have been slowly but surely coming together. It would be impossible, I think, for Kevin to run the MCU and the DCEU, but it's not impossible. It's not, running these studios isn't necessarily a full-time job, but I think a lot of fans wouldn't be happy about it. There'd be a lot of fans, whatever happens, that wouldn't be happy with Kevin Feige being the president of DC Studios. Now, whether or not I'm comfortable with that situation or not, I haven't really decided. But I'm not blind. I'm not blind. I've seen what Kevin Feige's done at Marvel Studios. He's reinvigorated the comic book movie, the comic book franchise. This was an independent studio, Marvel Studios. It came in, they didn't even have all the rights to the movies. That's why they started with Iron Man and other characters, but they did it. And he was able to do other deals with companies who owned Captain America and the Hulk. And it's worked out really well. It's a popular franchise. When the people hear the word MCU, they go to cinemas without thinking. That's free marketing. So what he's done is sensational. So when we talk about a Kevin Feige figure, there isn't actually a Kevin Feige figure anywhere near DC or in the industry. There's only one Kevin Feige. And if it's me, and I'm ambitious, and I'm David Zaslav, I'm going to attempt to actually bring Kevin Feige to be the president of DC Studios because I know what he's achieved. Now, is this the same Kevin Feige who helped form Marvel Studios? That's something I do not know. Has he lost his bluster, or is he still the same entity that can reinvigorate DC? These are things that will happen slowly but surely. Now, I don't know if they've approached Kevin Feige. I'm only telling you what I think they've done and what I would have done myself, because there's no one else like him. And if you're ambitious, this is something that you will be doing. Now, if Kevin Feige in a fantasy world was running DC Studios, it would break the fucking internet. The conversations, some of the conversations I see on here sometimes, it's fire. So I can just imagine what Twitter would be like. My very own chat would be like if Kevin Feige ran DC Studios. But for me, even though I would feel funny about it because he started the MCU and we're kind of taking someone who's already done something for the opposition, in a way it feels like cheating, but I would definitely be excited because there's no question about it. There's a big mess at DC live action, and some of it's not even the people's fault that are running DC and Warner Brothers right now. The people running DC now and WB didn't choose to bring in Zack Snyder, an auteur who should never have been brought in to do a mainstream universe. So what happens is they forced him out, and there's this situation where we fought for the Snyder Cut, and we got the Snyder Cut, but that's not enough. We want more and more and more. It's a messy situation. And the discourse between the Snyder fans, the Batman fans that we're seeing right now, these things are never going to end until someone either says, right, let's do everything, or here's a fucking hammer. I'm going to knock it on the fucking head. Nothing exists anymore, and we're going to start again. So someone has to come in here and say, this isn't working. Now, to credit to Hamada, he had this Worlds of DC concept, which was a very, very good idea. So what they were going to do was, via the Flash, they were going to create this multiverse strategy. I don't think Grace Randolph was wrong about Wonder Woman trying that strategy before the Flash movie. Obviously, they did something and they changed their minds. Then they reshot elements of the movie. I can't really talk any more about that. I do have some knowledge about that. But they had this plan. Using the Flash's speed and him being able to use the Speed Force, they were going to use the Flashpoint storyline, not copy and paste it, to reboot the DC Extended Universe. So initially I was very excited, and I thought this was an exciting thing to do. Bringing in Andy Muschietti, a kind of a director who hasn't got a very big CV, that's made at least one really good movie called It Chapter 1. That movie is leaps and bounds amazing. And using Zack Snyder's VFX supervisor, a very good idea. We now know why, because he's using elements of certain things, like elements of Man of Steel. So that VFX supervisor who worked on Man of Steel specifically is very important, and that's why he's been there. So I was very I was very excited about all of this until they announced they were delaying the Flash movie. So instead of November, there will be a 7-month delay till June 2023. I grew really suspicious about this situation. It's old news now, but I spoke about the fact that Andy Muschietti, the director of the movie, hasn't spoken about the delays. People on other movies have. Even David F. Sandberg, The Rock. Everyone's spoken about the delays apart from Barbara, Andy's sister, and Andy himself. In fact, the only thing he's posted on his Instagram is that he's doing an It prequel show for HBO Max, but he will not talk about The Flash. That's somewhat suspicious. Then Ezra was arrested in Hawaii, and we found out there may even be problems on the set. Now, things like they identified, like him saying, I don't know what I'm doing here. I've been on sets before, and I write, direct, and star in my own plays. Us actors do that a lot. We're like fucking divas. I don't know what I'm fucking doing. So things like that the article said, weren't really a big deal. So I don't know if there were serious issues with Andy and Ezra. I don't know. But clearly, there's an issue because the director and his producer sister are not talking. Now, whether anyone wants to accept those issues or not, as not a journalist, but someone who, presents a YouTube channel about entertainment, especially and specifically DC live action, I have to identify these things, not only keep them to myself, but make sure that you lot understand. So when these things actually come out, and more things will come out about the troubled Flash production, that you lot can say, do you know what? Mick told us about that. Because if I don't mention these things, even though you get frustrated with me, when these things come out, you're going to say, why didn't you say anything, Mick? As a YouTuber who claimed to know stuff, why didn't you mention this? Because if I didn't, you wouldn't be happy. Now, a lot of YouTubers, more successful YouTubers than me, I'm not successful at all, will not be negative about certain things to keep their subscribers. Now, I can't do this. I cannot. I have to be direct and honest. So you all know, the people who've been following me for a very long time, right, that I was very, very excited about the Flashpoint movie and rebooting the universe, because although I love Zack and I love Henry Cavill, I have no loyalty really. My loyalties are to DC. My loyalty is to democracy, as Obi-Wan says in Revenge of the Sith. But my loyalties are to DC live action, to not to one version of Superman or a director, even though I love them and I love what they've done with these DC properties. So we know it's a mess, but this reboot sounded like the best way to deal with it, even though I would have started again after Justice League. At least they were trying. This was exciting. And all year, and even last year, I was saying, wow, 4 DC movies in 1 year. So my enthusiasm was exciting. We were getting the Batman. We were getting Black Adam. We were getting this Flash movie that was going to change everything. And we were getting Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Ambitious to have 4 movies in 1 year. But as I looked over to 2023, I noticed there wasn't much going on. They then moved Blue Beetle from HBO Max to movie theaters. So I thought, okay, fair enough. But I was suspicious that 2023 was empty. Could be one of the reasons these films were delayed. But I think there's other issues, because why isn't Andy Muschietti talking? As I say, the truth about Andy's silence will come out sooner rather than later. And when you hear all these leaks, again, this is very suspicious. What's going on? Why are they leaking the entirety of the Flash movie? It doesn't make sense. And then they're leaking Keaton's costume. Now, some people may think this is exciting and clever, but I suspect something's going on here, and it isn't right. So we do need a DC Studios set up and announced as soon as possible. And this new leadership have announced, well, not announced, but said via the media that they're not happy that Superman and other top shelf characters have been put on the shelf. We're not happy about that either. So these things have to be remedied, and have to be remedied really, really quickly. So we will see what they're going to do. But in terms of Kevin Feige, it will be an unparalleled, passive-aggressive, ambitious appointment. It would break the internet, but I think that's the only way. So if you can't get Kevin Feige, what do you do? As I've already said, you've got to look at someone who can produce television and film, someone who understands this universe and who has the business acumen to run a studio. I've already spoken about Bruce Timm. I think he's the best person for the job, but I'm sure there's other people out there. What you don't want to do is get ahead of a studio who's run a studio to do this, because it has to be more than that. When you look at Kevin Feige and the 5 other people who formed Marvel Studios, they thought about what they were doing. So we can't just call a DC Studios and think the problem has been solved. No, we need the right persons to lead this entity in the right direction. And that's what we need. Right, now I want to talk about Doctor Who. So there's an article here, an interview with Radio Times with Chris Chibnall. Now, Radio Times are very pro Chris Chibnall. Well, read this article and then we'll discuss it. Chris Chibnall on Sea Devils leaving Doctor Who and BBC centenary plans. Chris opens up on his decision to leave Doctor Who. By Robin Parker of Radio Times. Nobody in TV cuts a more relaxed figure than a dem-op happy Doctor Who showrunner. The heavy toll of years spent configuring their galaxy-spinning imagination with the hard reality of budgets and maintaining their role as custodian of secrets in the face of teaser-hungry fans dissipates as they hit the home straight. As prepares for his Swan Song special to air, one this week and another later this year to mark the BBC's 100th anniversary, he has more reason than most to celebrate producing the Behemoth during the pandemic, nearly curtailed his and Jodie Whittaker's free series and out plan. Of course, there was never a free series and out plan. That is a lie. He's been forced to leave, and they've been forced to bring in Russell T Davies to fix the problems that he and the BBC have created. That we made Doctor Who at all during the past 2 years is a miracle. Yep, they are using this a lot. Well, Chris Chibnall was able to do it during the pandemic. So were the CW, the Arrowverse, and many productions in Hollywood. They're not the only ones, right? They found a way of doing it. It works. Bully for you. That's not an excuse for creative bankruptcy. That we made Doctor Who at all during the past 2 years is a miracle. As Mitch Chibnall, he has, whatever that word is, far less of a public face of the programme than his predecessors, Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat. Yes, he doesn't communicate with the fans because there's an issue between him and us. There was a point around April, May 2020 when it looked like we had to call it a day after 2 series if we hadn't already planned to leave after season 3. There's no way I'd be staying on now after going through that experience. Oh, you poor man, you poor millionaire, you poor elite. Looking back on the time and space hopping adventures, he says he's flabbergasted at the team efforts to tell a story of scale. This being Doctor Who, of course, there was no let-up, a planned final trio of epic specials culminating in the Doctor's regeneration this autumn, if she actually does have a regeneration. Nearly fell at the first fence with production and budget pressures forcing Chibnall to pare down even the Daleks, which aired on New Year's Day. We had to ditch our original idea and I had to write a new script in just over a week. He reveals you can't just go, right, we've got the series and then we'll do the specials. You're constantly on this treadmill, right? Budget constraints and issues, right, are a problem that all showrunners around the world have to deal with, Chris. I'm sorry. I don't think that's the reason you had to rewrite Doctor Who Flux within a week. You had to do that because you and the BBC have had creative differences. That's why you were going to leave in 2020. It's that treadmill that he'll miss the least, simultaneously writing, filming, in post-production on multiple episodes, as well as planning the next season. When he pressed Moffat on how he managed to juggle working on Who and Sherlock, Moffat said he didn't know, but somehow Who still took up the time. Stephen told me, I miss the work, but I don't miss the workload. That's where I'm heading towards. Again, this is all very honest, but this is a part of being a showrunner. I mean, I know you've never done anything like Doctor Who before, Chris, but again, you know, there's people out there working in factories, meatpacking plants, fucking making no money. You know, cry me a fucking river. Chibnall, now 52, wrote 5 episodes under Davies and Moffat before becoming showrunner and was lead writer on spin-off Torchwood for its first 2 seasons from 2006. Did he know what he was letting himself in for? Is that why he imposed his own exit plan? The exit plan is not true, by the way. It's to save his blushes. Partly, he admits, having observed Russell and Stephen at work, I knew how exhausting the show was, and Jodie and I both have families. Oh, boo-hoo. So do all the fucking firemen, right? And the nurses and the doctors. Boo fucking who, and they don't get paid half of what you get paid, Chris. I don't want to be show running Doctor Who in the year my children were doing their A-level and GCSE exams, which they are now. I owed it to my family. I hadn't seen much of them in recent years. This is all excuses, right? You know, people who work in other kind of emergency services and other normal everyday jobs don't have this choice, mate. At least you're a millionaire and have got the choice to step down when you want, even though it was an enforced decision. The Chibnalls still watch Doctor Who as a family, and he treasures a visual bookmark of his tenure of a photo of his eldest, aged 5, in David Tennant's TARDIS, and another photo of him, now aged 18, on the set of Whittaker's ship. It's been woven into our lives probably a bit too much, to be honest. It's been woven into his life since Tom Baker played the Doc. I feel the need to check. You have had fun in your dream job, haven't you? Everything on Doctor Who is exciting, he says. You have to live in the moment and enjoy it, because you know you're never going to do anything like it ever again, whatever you do. Nevertheless, the convoluted dovetailing plotline of a few of his episodes took some effort to follow, and that cost him some of the goodwill from casual viewers that greeted Whittaker's arrival. Even the New Year special must have fewer than 5 million within a week of its broadcast, a far cry from the 13.3 million who tuned in to David Tennant's biggest Christmas special in 2007 at the peak of Davies' imperial phase. And don't forget, at the end of time, parts 1 and 2 were about 14 to 15 million viewers. It was sensational. So, and don't forget, by the way, his first episode, Chibnall's, first episode got about 12, 13 million. 11, 12 million, whatever it was. It was huge. People wanted to give Chris a chance. People were intrigued by the first female Doctor, as I was. My opinion was, wow, Chris and Jodie worked on Broadchurch season 1. I don't like the other seasons, right? For my own reasons. But season 1 was special. I thought, give them a chance. They've worked together before. They've done something special before. Who knows what he could achieve here? If these figures and the more vocal fan reactions bother him, he's not showing it. Of course it bothers him. Yeah. Asked how much consideration he gives to fandom, he is blunt. Absolute zero. Of course, he's lying. That was the advice from both Russell and Stephen. He had a vision for 3 series arc and delivered it. Any other worries, such as whether whose weekly release pattern is an outlier in the streaming age, is above his pay grade. So basically what he's saying, I did whatever the fuck I want. I don't care who's watching it, not watching it. I did what I want. Fuck you. That's his opinion. Because here's the problem, what they don't get. You are working for a consumer-based company, right? You're not doing fan fiction. You're making this stuff for us, the audience. I'm sorry, Chris, and this is where it is. The truth is why you failed, not because you cast a very good actress to play the first female Doctor. It's nothing to do with her. It's always to do with the art, with the creativity, right? You know, if you give someone the clay to mold, they'll mold it for you, right? Chris had an opportunity to give the first female Doctor the best stuff to do, to make her the best Doctor ever. You owed her that. But Chris and the BBC decided it was enough that she was a woman, right? And hung her out to dry. Whatever support they give her publicly, they hung her And then there's the minority companions in Ryan and Yaz. You put them there for optics. You hung those really talented actors out to dry. Basically, why don't minorities and women have the same freedom to have the best characters written for them? Why is it just about representation and inclusion? Why isn't it about giving them what you give the men and the white people? You know, I've seen white characters and men given the best arcs, the best storytelling. Why isn't this first female Doctor and the minority companions getting that as well? Oh, all of a sudden you're going to force feed a same-sex relationship, right? That you didn't really set the seeds for in the beginning. There's not even that chemistry between the two actors to believe it. Now, in real life, when we see Jodie and Mandip together, they've got this beautiful kind of aura and chemistry and banter, but it's never been dripped into the show, which is a shame. And that shows how much Chris Chibnall has failed. Bradley Walsh, if you've ever met Bradley Walsh or saw him on the telly, the man, you know, reeks of personality, oozes personality. That personality was drained out of Bradders as soon as he was on screen for Doctor Who, because that's what Chris Chibnall did. So the failure is with Chris, and he's saying, fuck you, I don't care. He cares. Landing a cliffhanger or teaser that encourages a return the following week is, he says, tricky to navigate. In the streaming era, you see, they're blaming the streaming era. Don't blame the streaming era, right? Line of Duty gets record-breaking viewers. And don't tell me it's a different fucking show. If you do something good, people will come back, right? There's so many great network shows in America still doing well in the streaming era. Sorry to say that again. The streaming era. If you do it properly, people will come back. You're making excuses, Chris, for your creative bankruptcy. And I don't have anything personal against you. I'm not part of the fandom menace. This is my honest, genuine opinion as a Doctor Who fan. He says tricky to navigate in the streaming era, and he is personally all for the box set as a viewer. He also acknowledges that the competition in sci-fi and fantasy has never been greater. Basically, he's the showrunner of the greatest sci-fi show of all time, and he's blaming other artistic creativity and other platforms. It's embarrassing, Chris. But Doctor Who still has an ace up its sleeve. Unlike all those Marvel shows and films, Doctor Who never ends with a punch. That's still an incredible thing. Of his alien creations, he's proud of Swarm and Azure. Carvanista was all right. From last year's six-parter Flux, as well as his debut season's baddie, Tim Shaw. Now, I love the actor, but Tim Shaw was a fucking joke. And relish placing old favourites, the Centaurians, in the Crimean War. He's dusted off another old foe for his Easter special, The Legend of the Sea Devils. He promises a bank holiday action adventure romp. Sea Devils on a pirate ship, sword fighting the Doctor. What more do you want? By the way, I will say this, since Chris has taken over, the production values, the VFX, are fucking beautiful. But creatively, narratively, it's simply not good enough. So I've been very balanced here. There is something of the old-fashioned repertory theatre that appeals to him in making the show. It takes 3 weeks to film a standard episode, and then you're on to the next. We've kept pretty much the same team throughout. You can go from a huge pirate ship to a space station or a cabin in the Crimea. What I miss most is the constant delight at other crafts people's brilliant work. For someone who wrote all 24 episodes of ITV's Broadchurch, Chibnall's collegiate approach is striking, and his democraticizing of the writing team is one of his most significant legacies. By the way, he doesn't really have a fucking writing team. He's written most of his Doctor Who episodes. He's got, 3 or 4 writers at best. There's no writing team. He promised us a huge collection of writers. He promised us a writer's room. Is the writer's room just a room with him in it? It seems like it. Where Moffat anchored his series to veteran writers like Richard Curtis, Frank Cottrell Boyce, Luther creator Neil Cross, and Chibnall himself, the most recent era has been full of new diverse voices. What are you talking about? You've had 3 or 4 diverse writers there, and that's it. From Murdered by My Father writer Vinny Patel to Sea Devils co-writer playwright Ella Road. There's a swath of amazing writers out there, and it felt like I'd be doing the show a disservice if I didn't bring them in. Of course. He says some of the stories he wanted to tell, the partition of India, the protest of Rosa Parks, demanded an authenticity and a writer's room shaped ideas, and Chibnall having final pass on each script. Yeah, because he's a showrunner, of course he has the final pass, but basically he's a dictator. He just had a writer's room there with 2 or 3, 4 diverse voices and some playwrights and things like that, just so it's all about optics to him. But basically, he's dictated the narrative, even on episodes. He hasn't written. Half the time when other writers have come in, it's only been a co-writing credit. So it's all about optics, and nothing what they're saying here is actually, on a balance, true. Stories emerge both organically from a shared interest and from serendipity in fusing loose threads from different story ideas. David Lynch has a great quote: plan vigorously and allow for the happy accidents. Everything on this show is that times 1,000. Please don't quote David Lynch, a genius, when you're talking about your work with Doctor Who. He's also taken the elasticity of the format further than most, really layering in a Doctor origin story as audacious as it is divisive, a badge of honor for any Who showrunner. It seems you're not doing your job if fans all agree. You're not carrying a vase across a room. You've got to get in there and say what you want about the show, the character and the world, he says. It's one of the few drama series without a written Bible, and every era contains a contradiction or left turn from what has come before. Any future showrunner will ignore it or run with it. So let's talk about this. Apparently, he's created a Doctor Who origin story. Now, this is something that not only us fans have said, it's sacrilege and you should never do, but many, many showrunners believe this is a bad thing. In fact, people who run Big Finish and write Big Finish, and they do the audio dramas for Doctor Who, I speak to a lot of them, and secretly, and they can't be honest about this, they're not happy. Right, so let's talk about this, right? He created the Timeless Child arc that says the Doctor isn't a Time Lord, that the Time Lords actually purged her alien DNA. She comes from another world and created the Time Lords. It is actually a very interesting storyline. Now, his motivations are to talk about race and, race is being stolen, like the Empire went to the Americans and stole it from the natives. That's what he's trying to do here. I'm all right with that. That's cool. It's actually a very interesting and intriguing storyline. But where is it, Chris? You've done nothing with it. We should have seen more about this. As soon as we saw the end of season 12 and you revealed this, you should have been feeding more about this. And we've had nothing. You're going to squeeze this in the bicentennial episode. And I don't know if this is you, the BBC, or you and the BBC together, but you've both done a poor job. You've given us nothing about this arc. We used to watch X-Files every year, and we had the conspiracy arc, right? And they fed us conspiracy episodes 3 or 4 times a season with 20, 25 episodes. You've done nothing. You gave us the Fugitive Doctor, the first female Doctor of colour, great, played by Jo Martin, a really good actor who comes across as actually a better Doctor as Jodie. And I don't know why you've done better with her Doctor, and she's only had a little bit of screen time, but maybe that's one of your kind of investments in, representation and inclusion, and you felt you had to do it, although you did ignore your minority companions. But anyway, why haven't we seen her since that episode? An amazing episode when you introduced her. Why wasn't there kind of a different type of episode, where Jodie and the companions are not in it, and we're dealing, with this, a departure episode, showing us more about this Fugitive Doctor? You didn't have to give us all the answers. You could have waited until the end of your run, fair enough, but you've done nothing with this Doctor. And that's a shame, because you're just going to squeeze her in the end. Because again, Chris, it's all about optics. You have failed this storyline. I say, I'll die on this hill. I know a lot of people hate it, and I know it says that Hartnell's not the first Doctor, but ultimately, it's interesting, right? It's interesting, and you've done nothing with it. And that's on you again, Chris. Not us, you, right? It is controversial, of course it is. But at least if you did something with it and gave answers, maybe people could have been more educated, maybe even changed their minds about it. Because you've done nothing with it, people have been sitting on it all this time, wondering what your plan is for it, and it makes the situation worse. You say you're not carrying a vase against a room. The Doctor Who doesn't have a Bible. In fact, the Doctor Who concept is a Bible. And it's an easy concept. He's a Time Lord. Well, that's what we thought anyway. He's from Gallifrey. He ran away with his granddaughter, and he's been running ever since. Now and again, going back to Gallifrey. In the end, when Davies took it over, they got rid of Gallifrey. There was a time war. Great story, great idea, and it worked. The Doctor has got a Bible. You decided to grab that Bible and burn it in the fire, right? But you didn't write a new Bible, right? You're writing an origin story, so do it. Do it properly. But the truth of the matter is, we all knew this was a deal breaker to create an origin story for the Doctor. What makes the Doctor so mysterious and unique is that you don't know his or hers or however the Doctor identifies in the future. You don't know their origin story. We don't need to know their origin story. And this is where he's failed. But if you're going to do it, expand on it. And he hasn't expanded on it. Davies is returning in time for the 60th anniversary, which will he do? Does he reckon? Oh, I fully expect Russell to ignore it. He barely laughs. So he's basically saying that Russell will ignore the Timeless Child. Something I knew already, because I think Russell may even reboot the entirety of the whole show, which again will be controversial. Before we come to his successor, it's worth remembering that Chibnall's desire to shake things up kicked in with his casting of the first female Doctor. Here we go. Something I've already explained to you how he's failed. Having worked with Jodie on Broadchurch, what planted seed? Firstly, she's one of the greatest actors of her generation. That's a big statement and not true. She's a very good, solid British working actress, but she's not one of the best of her generation. We know that. He declares, but I thought, and I've been guilty of this, the part she'd taken didn't necessarily demonstrate her energy and physicality, her humour and her clown-like qualities. In her audition, he recalls she brought the Doctor in with her straight away. Her idea of the Doctor fused Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown in Back to the Future with Madonna in a trouser suit. Wow, because really, Christopher Lloyd's Doc Brown was inspired by Doctor Who. But, you know, we weren't there at the auditions, but that's a big statement to make, isn't it? With Madonna in a trouser suit. Having spent most of Broadchurch sobbing on screen, she pleaded, "Can I please not cry?" Chibnall says. I promised her she wouldn't be crying for a long time. That's a weird thing for someone to say, an artist. Please, I don't want to cry. Well, actually, you do have to fucking cry. Get over it. His writing leaned into a childlike quality shared by actor and character, like she's in a cave and the lights come on at every moment. Plus, a pragmatism and a love of engineering and science that have inspired young female fans. Oh my God, they're a bunch of liars. Of course, the extreme left like to talk about science, but what they do is they toxify science, right? They've used it when talking against people who may necessarily didn't do a certain thing during the pandemic, right? So this is how they talk about science. And, you know, I don't know. I have nieces who haven't been inspired with science because of this first female Doctor. But there you go. They're just 3 or 4 or 5 children. So anyway, having planned an emotional journey of discovery for Jodie's Doctor over 3 series, he promises her story will wrap up in a really huge, fun, actiony, mad, heartbreaking way. There'll be a lot of laughs and tears in that final episode. You won't want to do everything. That final special is also part of the BBC centenary plans. So expect a celebration of the broadcaster within the story, he teases. There are some treats, Easter eggs, and kisses to the past. What can he mean? The Daleks blowing up Alexandra Palace, the Master posing as Mary Whitehouse. Start formulating your theories now. After all, he says the BBC is something worth celebrating. I have no idea why you want to bash the BBC. Well, there's loads of reasons. One of the reasons is that the BBC hid the fact that Jimmy Savile was doing the despicable things that he was doing. People like Esther Ransom, who founded Childline, knew what was going on and said nothing. That might be one of the reasons not to celebrate the BBC. Or that they cancelled Holby City, a more watched show than EastEnders. That's still going on to this day. And the reason they cancelled Holby City was because of geographical representation. You think about that for a minute. Now, I celebrate the BBC for all its achievements, but we mustn't talk. We don't live in a bubble. We're the consumer. We know the truth and we speak the truth. Look at the amazing drama and entertainment they still pump out. The tourist time, Strictly. Everybody likes to attack it until we have a pandemic or a massive war, and then everyone asks, can you tell us the truth, please? And the BBC does that. We should never take it for granted. The BBC don't always tell us the truth. But I wouldn't be, I'm not surprised by what he's saying. He works for the BBC. He wants to continue to work for the BBC. I don't need to work for the BBC, so I'm going to speak the truth. He's eager to see how Davies remodels the show, and some of his production team are staying on for the 60th anniversary. Everybody should have a big smile on their face. Russell is one of the elite showrunners, and we are very lucky to have him, especially off the back of It's a Sin, one of the greatest shows of all time. For him to have incredible ideas and passion for it, and to want to take it forward again, that's fab. Nobody has a greater love for Doctor Who. Well, yeah, us fans have got a greater love for Doctor Who. I'm sure Russell loves it as much as we do, but come on. What did he learn from Davies? Launching into a passable impression of Russell's jaunty Welsh lit. He recalls being told of a Torchwood ensemble cast scene. I just want to know what everybody in this scene thinks. Chibnall elaborates. Everybody in that room needs to have a distinct point of view, and it needs to be there in that scene. For Russell, as a humanist and a character writer, nobody's ever neglected. Nobody's ever denied their moment. A tiny note opens up everything. Would he dare impart a newfound wisdom to Davies, the same as he gave me? Enjoy it. I've absolutely loved it. It's such a privilege. Few people have done it, and you're standing in the footsteps of those people across 60 years now. Yeah, too few people have run Doctor Who. There seems to be one little group of people, right, that are allowed to do it. Now, Russell's been brought back again. I'm happy. He brought Doctor Who kicking and screaming back to the 21st century, and he did it in an amazing way. I'm sure he's going to be amazing again. I'm happy that the BBC creatively have no authority over Doctor Who from the moment Russell comes back with Bad Wolf Productions and Sony Television. It's exciting, but I think, maybe a new creative mind could have been needed to bring back the show. But never mind. I'm excited about Russell coming back. So you'll be pitching him whose stories then? He laughs at Who has got garrulous as the best of Davies. Absolutely never again. Clear red line, final script. I never expected to come back after working with Stephen, really, and I turned it down a couple of times after that. I never thought I'd be offered the job, and built into that is why I wanted to keep it to a very specific free series thing, because they were going to let you stay for longer, weren't they? Supervising teenagers' revision is taking up my time now, and there's lots of other things to write. I will happily sit back and watch. For all that, it's been gorgeous all along. Now it's like, oh, I remember this. This is what real life is like. So basically what we've got here is, well, it's a blag. Of course it's a blag. Because at the end of the day, we know that the things between Chris and the BBC haven't run smoothly. And there's no question about that. And there's no question that there's been a serious issue with Doctor Who. Chris Chibnall has sucked the life out of this show. And it's nothing to do with the first female Doctor. He failed the first female Doctor. He failed his minority Doctor. He failed his minority companions. He failed. He failed because, like many people in the entertainment industry today, they like to pretend they're kind and compassionate and want to be representative and inclusive. But it's all about optics and propaganda and politics. And that's why the Chris Chibnall era of Doctor Who has failed. Now, we move on finally to Doctor Who news. I know that took longer than I thought it would, and probably you did. But at the end of the day, you can fast forward it when you rewatch the video. So we're now with our DCEU news. Wonder Twins HBO Max DC movie casts Riverdale and 1883 stars. Riverdale and 1883 stars KJ Apa and Isabel May are set as the leads for HBO Max's upcoming DC Comics movie, Wonder Twins, that is in development by Andy, whose surname I can't pronounce. Riverdale's KJ Apa and 1883's Isabel May are joining the DC universe as they are set as the leads for HBO Max's Wonder Twins. While the DCEU is expanding on the big screen, Warner Brothers is also taking the opportunity of utilizing HBO Max for their DC content. Since the launch of the HBO branded streaming service, the studio has slowly started to add projects that either tie into the cinematic universe or stand on their own. By the way, all these greenlit things we haven't seen yet. We still don't know what's going on with Green Lantern Corps on HBO Max. So it's great to be greenlighting these exciting DC live action projects, but I'd like to see them. One of the upcoming DC films that are in the works at HBO Max is Wonder Twins, taking the iconic Super Friends heroes into the world of film. The DC siblings starring movie was first announced back in February, as Black Adam writer Adam Siskill is set to direct the HBO Max picture. He's also penning the script for the film. So we've actually got a direct vision from someone. That'll be exciting, which will mark Siskill's directorial debut. While the Wonder Twins have been heavily featured in animation, this will be the first time they star in their own solo movie. I think they did feature in Smallville, though. After only 2 months since being revealed to be in the works, Warner Brothers has found their Wonder Twins, so they're pushing this forward. That's exciting. So this looks like this could be filming very soon. This could even be released next year. Deadline reports that Riverdale star KJ Apa and 1883's Isabel May are set to play Zan and Jaina, respectively. Zan has the ability to turn into water, while Jaina can turn into any animal she wants by the siblings' fists bumping and saying, "Wonder Twin powers." I wonder if they'll actually say it. Activate. How the film will tackle their powers remains to be seen, but it seems to be part of this iteration. While this will be Wonder Twins' first time enjoying the spotlight in a DC movie, it's not actually their first live-action debut. During Smallville Season 9 in the episode Idol, the Superman prequel series brought the siblings from panel to screen, told ya, for the first time. Seventh Heaven's David Gallagher portrayed Zan, while Warehouse's 13's Alison Scagliotti came on as Jaina. Even though they only appeared in that one episode, the Wonder Twins were brought back for the Smallville Season 11 tie-in comic. The Arrowverse crossover Crisis on Infinite Earths introduced their famous pet monkey, Gleek, who had an off-screen cameo where his voice was only heard. Wonder Twins is joining the big slew of teenage young adult DC movies that Warner Brothers has in the works, while Blue Beetle, Zatanna, and Static Shock are being worked on for its theatrical releases. Yeah, all those greenlit projects, and we don't know what's going on with them. HBO Max has Leslie Grace's Batgirl film coming up. May will next be seen in The Moon and Back, and Appa continues to star as Archie Andrews on the CW's Riverdale, which has picked up for a 7th season last month. Now that the leads have been found, more Wonder Twin casting news are bound to be coming in the next few months, as production is set to happen later this year. So probably about the fall, autumn, we call it in Europe, around October time to start shooting this movie. I have a lot of time for KJ Apa, who plays Archie in the fabulous Riverdale. I'm very excited about both the castings. I'm excited about this. I think it's great. And I think they're kind of pushing forward with it, which is exciting. To have a first-time director and someone who's involved with Black Adam and the DCEU already makes sense. So this is very exciting news, and I'll look forward to sampling the marketing and the behind-the-scenes pics and all of that. But we do have a lot of projects being greenlit, and it would be nice if we eventually see them. Peacemaker BTS images shows John Cena with cast of child actors. Celebrating Peacemaker's Japanese release, James Gunn shares a new photo of John Cena and child actors from the show's hilarious classroom scene by T.C. Phillips. James Gunn has shared a new behind-the-scenes photo from Peacemaker showing John Cena's costume vigilante with the class full of child actors from one of the first season's most memorable scenes. Sharp-witted and unapologetically funny, Peacemaker's hilarious first season serves as the first ever television series directly connected to the events of the DC Extended Universe, DCEU. Picking up after the events of Gunn's The Suicide Squad, the series follows Cena's Christopher Smith, aka Peacemaker, as he is enlisted to work for a mysterious Black Ops team dubbed Project Butterfly. Most recently, Peacemaker's first season was released in Japan, and Gunn celebrated by sharing a new behind-the-scenes image on his Instagram account, taken from the show's 6th episode, Merm. After reading, Cena's character is invited to a local school show and tell by Rizwan Majid Jamil, a janitor who befriended him while he was recovering in a hospital. After being shot by Idris Elba's Bloodsport in the Suicide Squad, proving himself not the most appropriate of childhood role models, Peacemaker recalls a story where he spent a party with Wonder Woman. Oh my God, I fucking me from across the room. Check out Gunn's post below. That particular scene is just one of many side-splitting moments from a season packed to bursting with Gunn's trademark offbeat sense of humour. Cena also did an outstanding job bringing the character previously described as the world's biggest douchebag to life, often relying on his impressive improvisational skills in the process. No doubt audiences in Japan will join many others in delighting in Peacemaker's hilarious antics. So it's very exciting that this show is around the world. I've only seen episode 1. I have no access to this show still. That is absolutely outrageous, but very exciting to hear another hilarious moment from it. I actually like that idea of his story about Wonder Woman. I fucking him anyway. Very interesting. Now we have an update on J.J. Abrams' Constantine. HBO Max's Constantine working title and casting details seemingly revealed. A new report seemingly reveals the working title, production start, and casting details for HBO Max's Constantine reboot series from J.J. Abrams by Grant Hermans of Screen Rant. A new report seemingly reveals the working title, production start, and casting details for HBO Max's Constantine reboot series from J.J. Abrams. John Constantine made his comics debut in the saga of Swamp Thing, number 37, and was created by Alan Moore, Rick Veitch, Steve Buscemi, and John Totleben, before going on to lead his own series of comics, Hellblazer, which was the longest running and most successful title in Vertigo's library, before owner DC Comics shuttered the imprint. Constantine would make his way to the screen for the first time in 2005, with Keanu Reeves starring in the eponymous film, which received mixed reviews from critics and audiences at the time, but was a box office success and has since garnered a cult following. With no sequel materializing to Reeves' Constantine, the character would get another crack at screen life with the self-named TV series on NBC starring Matt Ryan in the titular role. This is the perfect Constantine casting, by the way. Matt Ryan was amazing, but NBC scheduled it on Friday nights, which is, death to any television show. It's the graveyard shift, and that was a shame. He then obviously turned up in the Arrowverse, which I'm sure they'll mention, which saw better reviews than its film counterpart, but was cancelled after one season due to low ratings. Yeah, because they shoved it on Friday. After one season due to low ratings, Ryan would keep the role alive, however, in the CW's Arrowverse with an initial appearance in Arrow Season 4, before becoming a series regular on Legends of Tomorrow, beginning with Season 3. With Ryan's Arrowverse tenure at an end, J.J. Abrams has partnered with HBO Max for a variety of Justice League Dark titles, including a Constantine reboot series, and it appears the latter is further along in development than previously thought. Yeah, because they haven't mentioned anything. The Illuminati is reporting that HBO Max's Constantine reboot series is reportedly most of the way through its development. The project is reportedly operating under the working title Chimney and is eyeing a production start date of this fall, with plans to conclude filming in February 2023. Screen Rant reached out to HBO Max to comment on the story, though no response was received by the time of writing. No, of course not. They're not going to tell their public what the fuck's going on. That would be too much to ask. The new report also reasserts the Illuminati's previous report stating that Abrams and HBO Max are looking for a BIPOC male to bring Constantine to life. The series more specifically looking for a black British male. So we already know that. That's old news. Though no further details known at this time. One detail, the publication reports that has been confirmed by other sources, is that the up-and-comer Guy Bolton is leading the writer's room for the series, with Abrams attached to executive produce with Bad Robot's Rachel Rush-Rich and Ben Stevenson. The new report also states that not only will the new Constantine series begin filming later this year, but also take place in both the United Kingdom and Morocco. Should the report prove to be true, it would be an exciting step forward for HBO Max's Constantine series, as well as Abrams' Justice League Dark Universe. Set up at the platform, streaming executive Casey Bloys recently indicated the various DC Comics series were still seen as a major priority in Bad Robot's eyes, despite mostly silence in regards to the show's development. Yeah, exactly. You know why? because J.J. Abrams has got too many fingers in too many pies, and he's got to split up his time equally. And that's why this is taking so long. They should have insisted before this deal. You've got to be a writer, you've got to be a director, JJ. You can't be doing all these other things anyway. And if the new Constantine is looking to begin filming later this year, this would certainly seem to be the case. While audiences await word on the project, they can revisit Matt Ryan's entire Arrowverse run as Constantine with Legends of Tomorrow streaming on Netflix. So, right, J.J. Abrams has been at Warner Brothers now for 2 years. All these projects have been announced for a very long time. Now, I don't necessarily expect these to be rushed or to hear things every 5 minutes, but it would have been nice if the public could have been updated. In terms of all this news the Illuminati have given us, pretty much it's old news. We don't know anything that's going on. So hopefully this will happen. I mean, I think Idris Elba would be a great older Constantine, and he's an actor of color. It would give them everything they want. Now, of course, he's already part of the DC cinematic universe, but if this is part of another Earth, then it's fine for Idris Elba to be J.J. Abrams' Constantine. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, let's talk about Robbie Amell and the Flash TV series. Robbie Amell is looking forward to hate mail for the Flash Season 8. Following the unexpected twist in the latest episode of The Flash, Robbie Amell explains that he's fully prepared and excited for the hate mail by Kate Kim. I tell you what, Robbie, I know that's what you want because it will give some buzz for the show, but I don't think you're even going to get that. Following the return of Robbie Amell through Deathstorm in The Flash Season 8, Amell says he's fully prepared for the backlash. The Arrowverse alum first made his entrance on the CW show as Ronnie Raymond in Season 1, who later possessed the ability to merge with Martin Stain, Victor Garber, to become the transmuted and conjoined metahuman known as Firestorm. However, during the singularity generated by Eobard Thawne's Matt Lecter heinous plans, Ronnie sacrificed his life to fly into the wormhole to save Central City. In the most recent episode of The Flash, titled Resurrection, Barry Allen, Grant Gustin, and Chester P. Runk, Brandon McKnight team up together to prevent the villainous entity known as the Black Flame from hurting anyone else. Despite finding a way to contain the Black Flame, Caitlin Snow, Danielle Panabaker, intervenes as she believes that Ronnie has been left entrapped, which ultimately led to the emergence of Ronnie from the Black Flame in the end. However, it was later revealed in a private conversation between the resurrected Ronnie and Caitlin that the real identity behind the physical form of her late husband was Deathstorm. Oh my God. In an interview with EW, Amell breaks down the unexpected turn of events of his titular character in the Arrowverse. While commenting on the absence of Ronnie, Amell explains feeling prepared for the onslaught of hate he may receive from fans of Ronnie. In turn, the interviewer asked if he's looking forward to receiving hate tweets about the startling revelations in the most recent episode, with Amell responding with, "Oh, for sure. Read his response below." You definitely don't get that guy coming back. It's going to be bad. It's going to piss off a ton of people. I think the hate tweets will come rolling in. I'm excited about it. Oh, for sure. Well, at least he's not fan hating like most of them do. After all, they are the customer. But at the end of the day, right, I don't think people care enough to complain anymore. I think people keep on complaining about the Flash, but mostly I think people are done with it at this point. The recent emotional and intense episode had explored flashbacks to Caitlin's relationship with Ronnie, with many shocked to see the return of the former structural engineer through Deathstorm. This is not the first time that Deathstorm has appeared in The Flash, as he had previously appeared as the nefarious version of Ronnie in Season 2 on Earth 2. If anything, many fans have been excited for the arrival of the evil reincarnation of the undead Firestorm, as it is more accurately portrayed in comparison to the Earth 2 version, with his updated CGI design matching its DC Comics design. Despite Amell suggesting that Ronnie has completely disappeared, it may be possible for the series to set up an extremely overdue closure for Caitlin, who has been stuck in the limbo of being unable to escape the loss of her late husband. Still, it's too early to tell which direction Amell's characters may follow, which has him prepared to receive hate for the forthcoming episodes of the CW series, as his characters creates more chaos. For now, the audience will have to stay tuned for the upcoming episodes of The Flash on the CW to watch how everything unfolds. So very, very interesting. Right, now we give you a Gotham Knights update. Gotham Knights set photo reveals Bruce Wayne's tombstone. A new set photo from the CW's Gotham Knights reveals the first look at Bruce Wayne's tombstone, with this version of Batman being dead in the show by Andy, whose surname I can never pronounce. As the Gotham Knights pilot is deep into filming, new set photos have revealed a first look at Bruce Wayne's tombstone. The CW is expanding its DC TV lineup once again, this time with another Batman-related project that doesn't have Batman in it, or maybe it does. From the writer-producers of Batwoman, the network is currently developing Gotham Knights. Despite having the same name as the highly anticipated video game, Gotham Knights will not have any ties to it. What a surprise. The CW first put the project into development last fall before granting it a pilot order back in February, which means it hasn't been given a series order yet. The Gotham Knights plot will follow the city's next generation of protectors as they find the void Batman left behind after Bruce Wayne's adoptive son and several children of Batman's greatest enemies are framed for the Dark Knight's murder. They join forces to not only clear their names but become vigilantes themselves. The Gotham Knights pilot recently started shooting, and unlike most of the other Arrowverse shows, the DC drama is filming in Toronto, Canada, rather than Vancouver. What is currently a big mystery about the series is how the Caped Crusader died in this show. Did he even die? Like most things that film out in the public, set videos and photos are emerging from the Gotham Knights production, giving fans a closer look at the CW pilot. Twitter user Greg Tedesco was able to get a good shot at Bruce's tombstone with the epitaph reading, "He lived in the shadows, now he lives in our hearts." In addition to Greg's image, Nate Sheriff got a set video of what appears to be Bruce's funeral. Check out the new image and video below. So this is a picture, I think, yes, that's Bruce Wayne's tombstone. Something no Batman fan wants to see, really, right? And here's the funeral, which we won't play because we get copyright strike, but yeah, that's the funeral as well. Interestingly enough, the tombstone doesn't state Bruce's birthday, nor does it list when he passed away, even though it's hard to tell who's actually attending Bruce's funeral in the set video. It seems like a no-brainer that his adopted son, Turner Hayes, played by Oscar Morgan, is one of the actors potentially present there. Unlike most of the cast, Turner is an original creation for the show. Although the last name Hayes may be tied to the villain, William Hayes, Harm, why don't they actually use Bruce Wayne's son from the comics? That's an idea, right? Oh, no, we can't do that. Depending on what canon Gotham Knights are going with, Misha Collins Harvey Dent may also be one of the attendees, as Bruce and Harvey were friends in various versions before the latter became Two-Face. As far as Batman's death is concerned, that will likely be a mystery that lasts for at least a season, since the kids will be framed for his murder. While there are multiple scenarios in how he falls, it will make most sense if Batman was killed by one of his most famous foes, whether it becomes someone like the Joker or Bane. With filming expected to last until early May, fans will likely have to wait till the CW up front on May 19th to find out if Gotham Knights will be joining the 2022-2023 schedule. Should Gotham Knights go to series, it will join the previously renewed Arrowverse shows The Flash Season 9 and Superman and Lois. Yes, much hasn't been renewed. That's very interesting. This could also be a thing because, WB and CBS are selling the CW. That may be another reason. So we'll have to wait and see. Isn't it interesting? Batwoman doesn't have a Batman in it, right? And Gotham Knights Batman is dead. Can you see a pattern here? It's interesting as well. Batwoman, a show that's failed numbers-wise, and to get enthusiasm from a lot of members of the audience, the creators of that show were given the gift of developing Gotham Knights, a very popular graphic novel or graphic novels in, DC comic book lore. So that's a bit surprising. Well, to normal people, that would be surprising. But everyone in Hollywood and in the entertainment industry fails upwards because it's everyone who has the DNA of the entertainment industry that keeps on progressing, and everyone else can't get a job. And that, my friends, is the way it is. Now, if Gotham Knights doesn't get a series order, I suspect we'll get another season greenlit for Batwoman. I think if Gotham Knights gets greenlit for a series order, then Batwoman gets canned. That's how I see it right now. In terms of Legends of Tomorrow, I have no idea what they're playing at because that's had belated renewals before. So that show may still be coming back. Although I've noticed there's a save Legends of Tomorrow, and the cast, by the way, like Katie Lotz, who plays Sarah Lance, have been really banging that drum as well. So maybe they know something. Maybe they're worried their show's about to be canned. We will have to wait and see. So a few days ago, they leaked images of Keaton's Batman costume. Michael Keaton's DCEU Batman costume revealed in detail a new image. Michael Keaton's updated DCEU Batman costume that will feature in the upcoming Batgirl and the Flash film has been revealed in detail. A new image. By Brandon Luis of Screenrant. Michael Keaton's DCEU Batman costume that will feature in the upcoming Batgirl and the Flash films has been revealed in detail in a new image. The actor first donned the cape and cowl in Tim Burton's Batman in 1989. Originally, Keaton's casting caused controversy among fans since the actor was primarily known for his comedic roles in films such as Mr. Mom, Johnny Dangerously, and Gung Ho. Fortunately for the actor, the film was a massive hit, and audiences praised Keaton for his serious turn as Bruce Wayne. The actor returned to the role in the sequel Batman Returns in 1992, where he faced off against Catwoman Michelle Pfeiffer and the Penguin Danny DeVito. The film ended up being another major success, and Keaton was set to return for a third film. However, series director Burton left the project, and Keaton soon followed due to creative differences with the new director, Joel Schumacher. This is what happened. WB didn't want Burton to do another dark, and stylized Batman movie, so he left. He had no choice. They made a mistake. Keaton is slated to return as the wealthy Gotham City socialite in the upcoming DCEU films Batgirl for HBO Max and The Flash, starring Ezra Miller in the titular role. A movie that will play an important role in bringing back Keaton to the DC universe, influenced by the Flashpoint comic series. The upcoming film will see Barry Allen travel back in time in an attempt to prevent the murder of his mother, as well as save his father from being wrongly accused of the crime. In doing so, Allen fractures his timeline, forcing the hero to face different versions of himself, as well as multiple versions of various DC heroes in an attempt to fix his reality. Keaton is joined by Kiersey Clemons, Michael Shannon, and Ben Affleck, each reprising their original DCEU roles as Iris West, General Zod, and Bruce Wayne Batman, respectively. By the way, Shannon is not playing the Man of Steel, General Zod, so they're wrong about that. Epic Film Guys shared the first detailed image of Keaton's new Batman costume in the DCEU. Keaton's new outfit was previously revealed in set photos from the upcoming HBO Max film Batgirl, starring Leslie Grace as the titular hero. This new image gives fans the first good look at Keaton's return in of his most iconic roles. Check out the image below. Right, we're not going to check out the image below. I'm not going to face my phone to you because I don't want to get into trouble. Listen, it looks good. It looks a bit darker, by the way, but it doesn't look battle-weary. Hopefully, in both films, it looks a lot more battle-weary. Although there are subtle design, there are subtle design differences, and I think the cowl is something that people are not happy about. But I don't think this is the same version of Keaton's Batman. I think this is a variant version. Although there are subtle design differences, Keaton's suit harkens back to his original Batman outfit from 1989. The iconic oval Batman emblem on the hero's chest still has a yellow background, as it did in Keaton's films. Also, the cape and the cowl are firmly attached at the neck, which would still not allow Wayne to turn his head during a fight. This was a criticism of the original suit, as it forced the hero to swivel every time he wanted to turn. Gone is Keaton's yellow utility belt, replaced with a sleek black one to match his costume. This means he's either upgraded the costume or he's a variant version of this version of Batman. Fans should be pleased with the updated design of the Batman suit. It maintains the classic aesthetic the audiences have associated with Keaton since his two appearances as the hero, while having small stylistic changes that allow the suit to match modern taste when Keaton returns to the screen in one of his biggest roles in Batgirl and The Flash. it might feel as if the hero never left. So yes, it looks good. As I say, I would love to see a more battle-weary costume, and maybe we will when it comes to the movies. Let's wait and see what happens there. Now we go over to an update about Neil Gaiman's Sandman. The Sandman Merv Pumpkinhead casting announcement coming, says Neil Gaiman. So I don't know anything about Sandman, but I will be watching it on Netflix. I'm excited. Comics creator and series executive producer Neil Gaiman says the Sandman's Merv Pumpkinhead casting announcement is coming soon by Grant Hermans of Screen Rant. Comics creator and series executive producer Neil Gaiman says the Sandman's Merv Pumpkinhead casting announcement is coming soon, first appearing in Gaiman's 1989 Sandman collection of Preludes and Nocturnes issues. Mervyn Merv Pumpkinhead works as a dream janitor and is an animated scarecrow with the head of a jack-o'-lantern. Merv is well known for striking appearance resembling that of L. Frank Baum's Jack Pumpkinhead from the Oz books, frequently smoking a cigar and complaining about his essentially unnecessary job, given Dream's ability to change the world of the dreaming at any time. Sounds cool. Development on an adaptation of The Sandman has languished in hell for over 20 years, with various film iterations being eyed, including one with Joseph Gordon-Levitt starring and potentially directing, before it all fell apart and led to the Netflix series. Tom Sturridge is leading the cast as Morpheus Dream alongside Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer, Vivian Achapong as Luciane, Boyd Holbrook as the Corinthian, Charles Dance as Roderick Burgess, Kirby Howell Baptiste as Death, Mason Alexander Park as Desire, Donna Preston as Despair, Jenna Coleman as Joanna Constantine, David Thewlis as Dr. Destiny, and Patton Oswalt as Matthew the Raven. With much of the plot still unknown for Netflix's The Sandman, questions continue to arise amongst fans regarding what other characters may appear, and Gaiman has now confirmed one fan favourite is making his way to the screen. I want to go back to one of those castings. We got some great casting, here. Did I read that Jen Coleman is playing a female version of Constantine? I think that's going to be pretty awesome, actually. And I think all these people are the same genders in his graphic novels anyway, so I don't think he's twisting anything there. But it'll be interesting. And listen, at the end of the day, this is what they're doing. You're going to actually have to embrace it or not. As anticipation continues to build for Netflix series, one fan took to Twitter to ask Neil Gaiman if the Sandman show will include Merv Pumpkinhead. And details for the character's arrival, Gaiman confirmed that the animated scarecrow will indeed be in the show, though kept mum on details regarding his appearance, stating that a casting announcement is coming but being saved for a slow news day. See what Gaiman shared below. Yes, Merv is in the show. No, we haven't told you who's voicing him. We're saving it for a slow news day. I actually had to unfollow Gaiman, although I respect his artistic talent. He's like a lot of them too political, and he does a lot of fan hating as well. So instead of having to quote tweet him and put him straight all the time, I thought I'm going to unfollow this geezer, but I respect what he's achieved in his career. Gaiman's confirmation that Merv Pumpkinhead will appear in the Sandman series and that a casting announcement is coming soon should boost anticipation for its arrival. It also seemingly points towards season 1 of the show following the earlier storylines from the comics. Given Merv first appeared in the debut collection Preludes and Nocturnes, while potentially hinting at adaptations of the later stories, Gaiman previously stated the main storylines of focus will come from the first 2 volumes of the Sandman comics, some of which included A Dream, A Little Dream of Me, A Hope in Hell, and Collectors. With an adaptation of the Sandman having languished in development hell for 20 years, Gaiman's celebrated graphic novels have expanded to other forms of media, including a recent audiobook adaptation with Jim McAvoy leading the cast as Dream. The Audible series also saw indie filmmaker Kevin Smith lend his voice to Merv, because he's kissed so many elite butts he can get anything he wants now. Through Given Netflix series saw Patton Oswalt take over the voice of Matthew, the Raven from Andy Serkis, in the audiobook. Why? It seems likely the streaming project will go in a different direction with the voice of the Dreaming's caretaker. Only time will tell when the Sandman arrives on Netflix later this year. And even though I know jack shit about it, it kind of has a DC connection to it, somewhat, not much. So I will be watching this on Netflix. Looking forward to Neil Gaiman's Sandman on Netflix. It should be awesome. And the cast, as you can tell, are awesome. Does anyone watch Better Call Saul? Should we check out some news on that? Better Call Saul, Season 6 star says Kim has a god complex. Better Call Saul star Rhea Seehorn explains Kim Wexler's god complex and warns fans, if you think you know Kim, you don't know Kim at all. By Josh Planissi of Screen Rant. Better Call Saul star Rhea Seehorn discusses Kim Wexler's ever-evolving god complex in the show's 6th and final season. Developed by Vince Gilligan, former X-Files writer, by the way, and Peter Gould, the Breaking Bad prequel follows Bob Odenkirk's Jimmy McGill before he became Saul Goodman, the attorney who would represent Walter White, a.k.a. Heisenberg. As Jimmy struggles to resist his scam artist tendencies, Better Call Saul explores the effect he has on those around him. This includes fellow attorney, love interest, and recent bride, Kim Wexler. The juxtaposition of Kim and Jimmy has been a driving force of Better Call Saul's studious, talented, and similarly altruistic Kim has served as Jimmy's anchor, a do-gooder drawn to Jimmy's rebelliousness who would be better off without him. At least that's what the brushstrokes have led audiences to believe. In Season 5, Kim was integrated deeper into Jimmy's dealings with Lalo Salamanca, and surprisingly, she seemed at home in New Mexico's underworld, so that there appeared to be a shift in Kim's character as she suggested a nefarious way to take down Howard Hamlin in the Season 5 finale. As fans prepared for Better Call Saul Season 6, Seehorn is here to explain how Kim hasn't changed. In a recent interview with EW, Seehorn spoke on how Better Call Saul respects her character's autonomy, explaining how Kim isn't reacting to Jimmy's nature, but rather interacting with her own. As Season 6 delves more into her backstory and motivations, audiences will likely question everything they thought they knew about Kim Wexler. Read the full quote below. If you think you know Kim, you don't know all of Kim. But probably the even harder thing to wrestle with is holding opposing thoughts about a person in your head at one time. She's everything you thought. It isn't just the side of Robin Hood, do-gooding always, either, which I think people would like to assign. Her shenanigans too. There's quite a bit of ego and quite a bit of God complex happening. Very interesting. Considering how the audiences have viewed her Better Call Saul character for seasons, Seehorn's comments are both intriguing and understandable. Kim has always tried to do the right thing, and therefore there's never been a reason to question her integrity or ego. She then began to do the wrong thing, remained calm, and readily justified it, which have both fans and her con-man husband paused. The latter has remained an empathetic character despite his frustrating decisions, because he fears the consequences despite the moral discomfort. Jimmy is on the verge of accepting his role as a cog in the criminal machine. Still, it'll take him 6 seasons to get to a place where he's okay being the bad guy. Kim, on the other hand, can't yet imagine herself as a bad person. It's not a stretch to say that she's always been driven by a misplaced sense of self-righteousness. However, she's never before been on the wrong side of things, and now that she's crossed that line, her ends may continue to justify her means, a sentiment attached to the God complex of many villains in popular culture. In Better Call Saul's Season 6 trailer, Jimmy lies awake while Kim sleeps like the proverbial baby. The image is indicative of the series' two-sided coin that is Jimmy McGill and Kim Wexler, who are cautionary characters in the vein of Walter White and Jesse Pinkman. As Kim shares her last cigarette with Jimmy, the brilliant nuances of the Breaking Bad universe are poised once again to warn against the danger of ego. The final season of Better Call Saul premieres on April the 18th on AMC. Maybe it's not about ego. Maybe people are just flawed. And, you know, everything's a means to an end, and we do things to survive this horrible fucking rock, right? So, anyway, that's how I see it. So, interesting. Now we talk to Daniel Radcliffe. Well, we don't really talk to him. We read an interview with Dan Im. Daniel Radcliffe shares sweet Kenneth Branagh story from Chamber of Secrets. Daniel Radcliffe shares a sweet story about his co-star Kenneth Branagh, who played Gilderoy Lockhart in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and he was great at that role. It was so funny. By Ellie Clark of Screen Rant. So the character that Ken plays here is absolutely fantastic because literally he's a fraud. He's pretended he's fought wizards, this, that, monsters, and he's teaching the kids about his adventures, and he's got a book, and all the women fancy him, but basically he's the biggest bullshitter in the world. Daniel Radcliffe shares a sweet story about co-star Kenneth Branagh from the set of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Radcliffe starred as the boy who lived across each of the 8 Harry Potter films, with highly popular series of moving coming to its dramatic conclusion in 2011. After a decade of enchanting audiences around the world, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint also starred as Harry's fiercely loyal best friends, Hermione and Ron, with the Golden Trio recently reunited with a number of their other co-stars for last year's reunion special. Harry Potter returned to Hogwarts on HBO Max, and I don't think J.K. Rowling was there, surprise, surprise. Throughout the series, a number of notable names appeared as Harry's various teachers at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, including Maggie Smith, who played Professor McGonagall, and the late Alan Rickman, wow, what a man he was, who played the ever-terrifying Professor Snape. But actually, he's pretty much the hero of the story. Never judge a book by its cover. A fan favourite character, however, came in the form of Branagh's Gilderoy Lockhart, a self-obsessed and somewhat pompous author who is brought in to teach defence against the dark arts during Harry's second year at Hogwarts. The final act of Chamber of Secrets saw a not-so-favourable end for the new teacher after he betrayed Harry and had his brain muddled by a backfired spell. The role itself was initially intended for fellow actor Hugh Grant. Oh, that would have been awesome. With Branagh was later cast due to scheduling conflicts. I like what Branagh did, but wow, that would have been amazing. Radcliffe is currently in the midst of promoting his latest film, The Lost City, alongside Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum. Sitting down with Empire, he briefly discussed his film at Hogwarts, recalling a particularly sweet story about Branagh. With Chamber of Secrets celebrating its 20th anniversary this year, Radcliffe was asked about his experiences shooting the much-loved sequel and shared that Branagh, who he affectionately calls Ken, was really naughty while on set. The star recalled how Branagh would set out to make the young actors laugh, teasing them in an attempt to get them to break character. Check out Radcliffe's quote below. I remember Ken Branagh. Ken was in that one and was so charming and really naughty with the younger actors. In terms of making us laugh, there would be scenes where we'd be trying not to laugh, and Ken would see that and be like, I'm going to get you to go. But it was very, very funny and sweet. Since the Chamber of Secrets takes place during Harry's second year at Hogwarts, Radcliffe was only around 12 years old at the time of shooting, along with his young co-stars who would have also been of a similar age. Radcliffe recently discussed the lengthy 9 to 10 month schedule that Chamber of Secrets had. Now in his 30s, the actor revealed that many of his memories of shooting the Harry Potter film revolve around the iconic flying car scene. However, Radcliffe didn't really recall many other details outside, of course, his friendships with his adult co-stars and mentors, including Branagh. It's certainly sweet to hear that Radcliffe still recalls Branagh's sweet on-set antics after more than 20 years, and that it remains as one of his more prominent memories from filming Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. While the future of the Wizarding World remains unclear at this point in time, with reports that the Fantastic Beasts franchise could be put on hold, it remains to be seen whether there will be an opportunity for the original Harry Potter cast to return to the future to revisit their beloved characters. For now, audiences can keep their fingers crossed that Branagh and Radcliffe are reunited on screen again in the near future. There's no question that Warner Brothers Discovery will want to bring back the old team. But as they know, they have a big problem, and her name is J.K. Rowling. Not only has she given her controversial transgender opinions once, she's done it again and again. She's caused a storm, and I don't think anyone's going to consume anything that she's involved with, even by name. So it's very, very problematic. This was a high-core, high-ending, profitable franchise. Because of her conduct, she's ruined it. And that's a shame, but that was a great article to read, what went on between Ken and the kids and how he made them laugh. Great stuff. Now, Jamie Dornan is an interesting actor. He's done a lot of different things. and he's been rumoured to be the next James Bond. Of course, one of many actors to be rumoured to be the next James Bond. Jamie Dornan on how he feels being considered for the next James Bond. Actor Jamie Dornan comments on how he feels being considered for the next James Bond, while the search for Daniel Craig's replacement continues. He's not actually a replacement because they killed that Bond off. By Paul Shuri of Screen Rant, somebody else I recently unfollowed and muted. Actor Jamie Dornan comments on how he feels being considered for the role of James Bond. Dornan is best known for his role as Christian Grey in the 50 Shades of Grey franchise, as well as a number of other notable roles within the last decade. The Irish-born actor has also appeared in films like Anthropoid, The Siege of Jacksonville, Synchronic, and Barb, and Star Go to Vista de Mar. His latest role was as part in Kenneth Branagh's Oscar-winning Belfast. Daniel Craig just wrapped up his tenure in the role of the iconic British agent 007, which last year's No Time to Die, his fifth and final outing as the character. Before Craig, the role was inhabited by likes of Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan. Rumours have been swirling over who will be cast as the next ever since Craig announced he'd be leaving the part, and his iteration of Bond met his fate in No Time to Die. However, Bond franchise producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson have said that a decision on the next James Bond will be made sometime this year, but nothing has been announced as of yet. While talking to ET Canada, Dornan commented on his casting consideration as James Bond, saying that he thought it was fun and cool to be on the list. The list in question is an unofficial mix of actors that are constantly touted as possibilities. While there's no real frontrunner for the role as of yet, that's what you think, Dornan commented that he felt the names circulating around the role aren't there by accident, as of all the actors on the list are currently starring in notable projects. Read this full quote below. It's fun and it's cool and a cool thing to be in the mix for that sort of thing. I do think it's very transparent in terms of, if you look at it, that list, there's not one person on that list who doesn't have some content at the moment that's doing well. In other words, he's saying those names are only on there because they're currently on the public's mind. In other words, he's saying the list is bullshit. No, Paul, he's not saying it's no accident because it's true. Other actors on the list, along with Dornan, include actors like Tom Hardy, Idris Elba, Henry Cavill, Tom Ellis, Tom Hiddleston, Richard Madden, Dev Patel, and Regé-Jean Page, among many others. If Dornan was to be chosen from this star-studded list, his schedule would certainly make room for appearing in a new Bond film. Dornan is currently appearing in the BBC HBO Max series The Tourist, which has been renewed for season 2. He's also currently filming the spy thriller Heart of Stone with Gal Gadot, Lucky Gal. But outside of The Tourist, season 2 appears to be production-free for now. Dornan has previously weighed in on the immense legacy left behind by Craig's Bond, saying in the past interview, Daniel Craig is fucking brilliant, and it changes the whole energy of Bond. Listen, Daniel Craig's first film did that, and it was amazing. Craig was always a great Bond, right? A new Bond, a new iteration, but he had too much say on what happened creatively. And ultimately, the final chapter was a very long film with great production values, but a boring narrative, a boring story. And ultimately, I'm not triggered by his Bond being dead. In fact, I'm happy his version of Bond's being dead. If it was up to me, we'd go back to the original continuity, but they're not going to do that because of toxic masculinity. So we'll see what they do next. With so many talented actors appearing in speculation about the next James Bond, no clear frontrunner, it's anyone's guess as to which direction the Bond producers will go. Dornan certainly fits the bill for the role, but he's one of many that could slip on the tux and bring the next Bond to life, so it will ultimately come down to what the producers want for the character in the next decade or so. Rather than someone simply having the right makeup for the gig, whoever lands the role will have big shoes to fill, as it's no small feat to redefine a beloved character like James Bond, one of the most iconic roles in all of cinema. My opinion is, and this is basically about everything in entertainment now, it doesn't matter your actor. I said this about Jodie Whittaker playing the first female Doctor. It doesn't matter. It's who the creatives are. And if they are creatively bankrupt and they're all politicians and they just care about politics and representation and inclusion via optics, nothing's going to work. It's going to be crap, and we're going to be let down again. So the best thing is just to accept the creatively bankrupt era of entertainment we're in and just move on. And if something's good, we can embrace it. And if it's not, we don't consume it and they don't make money and it's their fucking problem, isn't it? And that's my opinion. Right, Mads Mikkelsen continues to talk about his role in Indiana Jones 5 and how the film felt like a Spielberg film. So he's really pushing that this film is great. I personally do not believe him because it was made in the 21st century. Indiana Jones 5 still feels like a Spielberg movie to Mads Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen, who is set to star in Indiana Jones 5, asserts that it still feels like a Spielberg film despite James Mangold directing the movie by Toby Skelton of Screen Rant. Mads Mikkelsen says the upcoming and untitled Indiana Jones 5 still feels like a Steven Spielberg movie. Despite the director only serving as an executive producer on the sequel, there remains much mystery surrounding the latest outing for Harrison Ford's intrepid archaeologist. With audiences relying solely on covert behind-the-scenes images and fan speculation for potential plot details. Indiana Jones 5's casting remains elusive, while the adventure sequel boasts an exciting lineup. Anyway, that includes Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Imagine saying that with a straight face, an exciting lineup. Then you say her name. Toby Jones, he's great. Antonio Banderas, Olivia Richards, Thomas Kretschmann, Boyd Holbrook, Shawnette Rennie, Wilson and Mickelson. It's still not known who any of them will be playing. Aside from Ford reprising his famed role, however, filming has now wrapped on the movie and director James Mangold has teased that the Indiana Jones 5 trailer is not far away. The trailer is going to be so interesting, right? They're going to have to try and put something awesome together to make it look like it's a really good film. I have no trust in anything that these people do. Development on the fifth installment in George Lucas and Spielberg's beloved action-adventure series has been far from an easy ride. Research and early work on story ideas for the film began in earnest after the release of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2008. However, following Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm in 2012, the project remained shelved whilst the company worked primarily on Star Wars sequel trilogy. Having set an original release date of July 19, 2019, Indiana Jones 5 has been delayed multiple times, with the screenplay undergoing a number of major redrafts with various different writers. Spielberg eventually stepped down as director, which basically, once that happened, it was game over, to act as an executive producer instead in 2020, with Mangold taking the helm and co-writing the final script, making this the very first Indiana Jones film not to have Spielberg in the director's chair, or not to have George Lucas as the writer. For me, not having those two involved creatively is a disaster. Now, James Mangold, even though he's blocked me from Twitter, is a very talented man. Logan is amazing. And I was excited for him doing it. And I hope it's just an amazing, huge take to Logan, as hopefully we get a Logan kind of situation where it's a very interesting, unique movie. But I don't trust these people. So that's the problem. And I believe they're going to get a female to replace Indiana Jones, and we'll have a female Indiana Jones. This is what these people are going to do. They're predictable. Yeah, and people will say, Mick, they're not going to do that. They will. They will. This film is going to be a problem, like most of entertainment in the 21st century. However, despite the Logan director now calling the shots, Mikkelsen has claimed that it remains reminiscent of Spielberg's work. Although keeping information on Indiana Jones 5 notably under wraps, in an interview with THR, the actor confirms that Mangold's particular approach to the movie meant that it felt like a Spielberg film. Mikkelsen said that Mangold was making Indiana Jones 5 with the same vision as Spielberg. So that answers a question. So it will feel like another indie movie. Fingers crossed, we can only hope. Ronnie Dodge, hey Mick. Trill J, what's up Mick? Precisely how Indiana Jones 5 still feels as if it has Spielberg's unique creative hallmarks, Mikkelsen doesn't make clear, but the star has also discussed how the production team had tried to recapture the feel of the original Indiana Jones movies throughout production, particularly that of Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. Mikkelsen's elaboration that Mangold is attempting to maintain the same vision seems to confirm this, suggesting that the director is looking to replicate the style Spielberg established in the first 4 films rather than go with a completely different creative direction. That answers my question. So this is interesting. Ronnie Dodds, what's your thoughts on the Wonder Twins casting? Well, I've got a lot of respect for KJ Apa. He's been sharpening his teeth for years on Riverdale. It's a great show, it really is, and I'm so happy about his casting. Now, the actress's casting. I don't know nothing about her, but I'm very, very excited about Wonder Twins, and it looks like they'll be pushing forward with filming from this autumn, or as you Americans say, this fall. So I'm very excited, Ronnie. Trill J, Ronnie Dodge, hey Ronnie. For many devotees, Spielberg's departure from Indiana Jones 5 was undoubtedly a heavy blow, given that the director's name has become virtually synonymous with all outings for Ford's beloved adventurer. As such, this news that this vision still feels present despite his creative absence will almost certainly prove reassuring to any audiences if it's true, harboring doubts about the style and feel of the sequel. But even though the Indiana Jones 5 release date is set for June the 13th, 2023, it may not be long before fans will get to see Mangold's revival of Spielberg's vision in the forthcoming trailer. Now that filming has at last been completed and editing is finally underway. I heard filming for Indiana Jones 5 was an absolute nightmare because of Harrison's age. I mean, they talk about Keaton being too old. If you think Keaton's too old to play Batman, then Indiana Jones, Harrison is certainly too old to play Indy. Obviously, they would have used him sparingly. Hopefully, it's a good movie, but I have my doubts. Ronnie George, I'm looking forward to Indiana Jones 5. Yes, so am I, Ronnie. I'm a big fan of that. Obviously, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg doing great with those first 4 movies, the first 3 movies especially. But I don't trust modern-day filmmakers not to fuck these things up. So if it is good, at least it will be a pleasant surprise. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is extremely funny, says Karen Gillan. Exclusive star Karen Gillan says she thinks Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is extremely funny, though note she hasn't seen it yet. So how do you know it's funny? By Grant Hermans of Screen Rant. Star Karen Gillan says she thinks the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is extremely funny, though no, she hasn't seen it yet. Gillan is returning for the Marvel Cinematic Universe Disney Plus special alongside fellow Guardians Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, Zoe Saldana as Gamora, Dave Bautista as Drax, Vin Diesel as Groot, Bradley Cooper as Rocket, and Prom Klementieff as Mantis. James Gunn is also back at the helm for the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special with a script he penned. Plot details for the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special are currently unknown, though Gunn has confirmed its events will lead into the highly anticipated 3rd MCU film, also his final in the franchise. The filmmaker has also teased that multiple MCU heroes will be introduced in the special, including one he considers to be one of the greatest MCU characters of all time. With production on the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special finally kicking off in February, one star is expressing their excitement for the project. Trill J, Ronnie George, I agree. Will you still watch the new film? Ronnie George, but to be honest, I feel like Harrison should have left it with Crystal Skull. To be honest, yes, he should have. There probably shouldn't have even been a Crystal Skull. So I think they're going to get someone to replace him, probably a female, something like that. I don't know. But I think this is a step too far, and it's been a nightmare to make this movie. While speaking exclusively with Screen Rant for her sci-fi thriller comedy Jewel, Karen Gillan shared some insight for the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special in looking at Gunn's recent tease of it being his best project yet. Gillan said it indeed could be and believes it is extremely funny. See what Gillan shared below. I mean, it could be. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know, but it's totally possible that it is. I think it's going to be extremely funny. Wow, what an insight. While Gillan's tease that the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is extremely funny lines up with Gunn's various teases over the past few months for the project, it also may offer some insight into its production. The special was originally set to begin filming on January, though. Gunn confirmed that month it was delayed due to a surge in COVID-19 Omicron variant in Los Angeles, though Gillan could simply be referring to having not seen daily reels of Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, with saying production on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 wraps soon. It seems just as likely production on the special has already concluded. Ronnie Dodge, still watch it, but I think most of it will be flashbacks. It'll be interesting what they do. Look, at the end of the day, when you don't have originality in your mind, in your toolbox, if you're creatively bankrupt, then you keep on bringing these old characters. I understand Star Wars, even though you could argue there's not really the remit for new Star Wars stories either. But at least you can do something with that if you've got imagination. But this, they should have done a recast. If they wanted to continue this, they needed a recast. Anticipation has been high for the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, as it marks one of Gunn's 2 remaining returns to the MCU following his transition to the world of the DC Extended Universe with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. Gunn's various teasers on social media and in interviews have helped keep that excitement alive, while set photos further bolstered in with the reveal of the Earth set action scene. Only time will tell if it can live up to the expectations audiences have when the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special hits Disney Plus this December. So yes, James will be wrapping up his work with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and coming full-time to the DC Extended Universe. Very exciting. So one of my favourite films is The Rock, and we got Michael Bay talking about his collaboration on that film with the late great Sir Sean Connery. Michael Bay admits he was afraid to direct Sean Connery in The Rock. Action director Michael Bay has admitted he was afraid to direct Sean Connery in his hit film The Rock, but the two wound up liking each other by Christian Hodge of Screen Rant. Action director Michael Bay admits that he was afraid to direct Sean Connery in his hit film The Rock. In the film The Rock, released back in 1996, The Rock was in fact only the second action film released by now legendary action director Bay. The film tells the story of a chemist and an ex-con who must lead a counter-strike against a group of military men while threatening a nerve gas attack against San Francisco from Alcatraz. Along with the iconic James Bond actor Connery, The Rock also stars Nicolas Cage and Ed Harris and remains one of the top action films ever. It is. Trilogy, The Rock is a classic. It absolutely is, my friend. Over his career, Bay has worked with many top-tier actors in the last 27 years. Bay has worked with the likes of Will Smith, Shia LaBeouf, Frances McDormand, John Malkovich, Jake Gyllenhaal, Bruce Willis, and Ryan Reynolds, to name a few. While some moviegoers may have divided opinions on the director due to his very specific style of filmmaking, yeah, only snobs, Bay has become known as one of the most lucrative directors in Hollywood today, which makes it hard to imagine that Bay would ever feel unconfident while on set making a movie. However, in a recent interview with Collider to discuss his new movie Ambulance, Bay has admitted that he was very scared to direct Connery while filming The Rock. At the time, of course, Bay was a fresh, up-and-coming director, while Connery was already a Hollywood legend. According to Bay, on his first day working with Connery, he was terrified to give him direction. Bay has stated that Connery had somewhat of a reputation for being a director eater. However, the two were able to develop a rapport, and Bay claims that by the end of the shoot, Connery actually quite liked him. See Bay's full quote below. Okay, let me explain the very first day working with Sean Connery. I'm still a kid. Sean's done 75 movies. I've done this was my second. We're doing the interrogation scene with his long grey hair and the beard. I was so scared to give him his first direction. So we do one take. All right, let's do it again. Do a second take. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to give him some direction right now. Sean, can you just say that less charming? He goes, sure, boy. So my name on the set was Boy, and he's a director eater. He hates directors for some reason. I remember I was down on my knees. Effects were not that good during The Rock at the time. I wanted to be a magician. I really didn't make that much money. I knew I would never beat David Copperfield, but I did magic for birthdays when I was a kid. Okay, but I had a big quarter, a large size quarter, and I put a wire in it, a steel, and I would spin it towards the camera. So it looks like there's a scene where he takes a quarter, it flips on the table, and that's the thing that he gets out of his handcuffs. He's kind of hits his chair and he dents it, and he gets out of his handcuffs. So I was spinning this quarter. I'm down there. I'm doing it myself. Sean Connery's looking at me and he's got this wry smile. He was a tough love guy, but he liked me. I learned so much from that guy, and he really, really taught me a lot. He was a true movie star and a consummate worker, and just his work ethic. I was very sad when he passed away. So I put The Rock line in this movie because of that. Wow, I do love these little on-set stories, especially if they're positive, because imagine being a young director and having to direct Sean Connery. I didn't know I don't know what I would do with that. And, absolutely amazing that they had this rapport. He must have been shitting himself, especially if that reputation was true about him being a director eater. And you've got to be someone with a big reputation and a lot of confidence as a director to deal with these big actors. It is, of course, very understandable with a young director such as Bay at the time would have had a hard time telling Hollywood great like Connery how to act. However, Bay has since stated that he learned a lot from Connery, and it is very possible that Connery saw in Bay the potential for what he would become. As Bay himself stated, Connery liking a director was rare, but he certainly wasn't wrong about Bay given his massive career that has come since. It is very clear that Bay has never forgotten the experience either. Bay has stated that he was very saddened to hear about Connery's passing and has admitted that he snuck a line from The Rock into his latest film, Ambulance, out of respect. It certainly speaks a lot about an actor if after a career as long as Bay's, the director still remembers so clearly their relationship on set. Ambulance can be caught in theatres now, and it is likely that its reference to The Rock will have Bay fans returning to watch the two Hollywood legends come together. Ronnie Dodge, Mick, you're going to watch the game later. You know what? I don't have access to any football, Ronnie. But you know what? Because I've been doing this video for so long, I actually forgot what date was. Let me be honest with you, Ronnie. I have no investment or interest in Manchester United for the rest of this season. I love my club, but it's done. It's over. We're not going to finish in the top four. It's over. I just want to get this season out of the way. Look forward to Tech coming in, and we can, try and reevaluate this club. And it's the same opinion I have with DC. We need someone to come in and lead this studio, lead this amazing, iconic world and characters, and do something with it. Kaylee Cuckoo. Let's talk about my girl Kaylee. Knives Out 2. Kaylee Cuckoo devastated she's not in Rian Johnson's movie. Kaylee Cuckoo reveals she's devastated she wasn't cast for Rian Johnson's Knives Out 2 after doing various chemistry reads for him by Grant Hermans of Screen Rant. Ronnie Dodge, totally agree, mate. Kaylee Cuckoo reveals she's devastated she wasn't cast for Rian Johnson's Knives Out 2 after doing various chemistry reads for the film. Johnson has assembled another ensemble cast for his murder mystery sequel once again, led by Daniel Craig as the eccentric private detective, Benoit Blanc, investigating a new case in the Mediterranean. Joining Craig for Knives Out is Dave Bautista, reunited Spectre stars Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, Catherine Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr., Kate Hudson, Maiden Klein, Jessica Henwick, Ethan Hawke, and Noah Segan. In other words, these people have all got Hollywood DNA, and Kaylee probably hasn't. Basically, unless you're in with these people, you won't get the big jobs. But what I would say to Kaylee is you've been very successful, Kaylee. You were in 8 Simple Roles. You were, in the other comedy with the lads. I forgot what it's called now. Brilliant comedy I used to watch. Forgot the name. You've done amazingly well. You're doing it right. Sometimes you go in an audition, it doesn't work. Clearly, the chemistry thing didn't work out, and that's why she didn't get the gig. And nothing that she particularly did wrong. Development of Knives Out 2 began shortly after the first film debuted to rave reviews from critics in late 2019, and major box office success, grossing over $300 million against its $40 million production budget. Though initially lined up at an original studio Lionsgate with Craig attached to return, Johnson producing partner Ryan Bergman would instead auction the rights to the franchise, which Netflix won in a heated battle for $469 million, with a 2-movie order, with Craig reprising his role in both. While Knives Out 2 is expected to premiere later this year, one story is opening up about being left out of the adventure. In a recent cover story for Glamour, Kaylee Cuckoo opened up about being passed over Knives Out 2. The flight attendant actress revealed she made it pretty far in the audition process for Rian Johnson's murder mystery sequel, even doing chemistry reads, only for Kate Hudson to instead land the part, to which Cuckoo was so devastated to see what Cuckoo shared below. I was convinced the part was mine. I also was convinced that my bags were packed for Greece, and then I didn't get it. I was so devastated, and I'm not normally devastated over roles. I have done chemistry reads. I have done Zooms, and I didn't get it. I cried and cried all night long. And I was gutted over that. And that's when I thought I was on the fire. I'm for sure getting that. And they were like, no, we're going to go with Kate. And that is the game, I'm afraid, and it's very, very sad. Ronnie Dodge totally agree with it. Trilogy, the first Knives Out was good. So where was I? One nomination for a performance, blah, 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 blah. While many may still know Cuckoo best for her role as Penny in the long-running The Big Bang Theory, the actress has been branching out to more diverse ground since the conclusion of the CBS sitcom. Cuckoo scored rave reviews for her work in the HBO Max dark comedy mystery Flight Attendant, including earning 2 Golden Globe and 2 Primetime Emmy Awards nominations for her performance and as an executive producer. Additionally, Coco has lent her voice to the DC Universe turned HBO Max animated series Harley Quinn in the titular role, for which she again scored acclaim with the series, which is gearing up for its season 3 premiere sometime this summer. As Coco indicates in the interview, Knives Out 2 was to be another major step forward for the actress in her recent rise to further stardom, making it understandable she was devastated to have been passed over in favour of Kate Hudson for the Rian Johnson movie. Thankfully, fans of the actress and star herself, Cuckoo, not landing the role in the sequel didn't set her back too far, as she's set to play Doris Day, in the biographical limited series about the late singer star, while also having landed the lead in the time travel romantic comedy Meet Cute with Pete Davidson. From not appearing in Johnson's film, audiences can look forward to Cuckoo's impending return as the Flight Attendant Season 2 premieres on April 21st, while Craig and co. make their darkly comedic arrival with Knives Out 2 on Netflix sometime later this year. So yes, that's very, very exciting, isn't it? It's a shame that Kaylee wasn't able, to get the role of her dreams in Knives Out 2, but she's brilliant and she's done so well. So we continue with the show. And we're back with Mads Mikkelsen. Fantastic Beasts 3, Mads Mikkelsen developed his own Grindelwald backstory. Mads Mikkelsen describes how he wrote his own backstory for the character of Gellert Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore by Joseph Cumnor. I love that name. Mads Mikkelsen reveals that he has devised his own backstory for the notorious anti-muggle evil wizard Gellert Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. Directed by David Yates and starring Mikkelsen, Eddie Redmayne and Jude Law, Secrets of Dumbledore is third film in the Fantastic Beasts prequel series. And we'll see Dumbledore task Newt Scamander with the mission of infiltrating Grindelwald's army. Releasing in theatres today, the film will be looking to make a strong box office showing to fight the controversy that has plagued its production up to this point. Most of this controversy has surrounded the character of Grindelwald, who was played by Johnny Depp in the first 2 Fantastic Beasts films. In November 2020, after filming had begun, Depp announced that he would not be returning to the role after Warner Bros. Asked him to resign in the face of the libel case the actor was fighting in London at the time. Within the same month, the studio announced that Mikkelsen will be replacing Depp in the role. Now, in an interview with THR, Mikkelsen has described how he developed his own backstory for the character in order to help him in the role. He outlines that he wanted to ask J.K. Rowling, who created the character, exactly why Grindelwald hates non-wizard people so much, but instead his own. Wanting to avoid painting Grindelwald as the instantly demagogic, Mikkelsen instead opted for a tragic personal history to help flesh out his backstory. You can read the full quote below. I would like him not just to be instantly demagogic, but my reason is that something happened to his entire family when he was a child. That explains the hate he carries around. It's a fantastic, detailed, complex universe Rowling's created, and I love to hear her thoughts on it. I hope I will do more. I hope I do more than this one film. Well, it's remained to be seen if there is more than one film for you, Mads. I hope there is. Ronnie Dodge, interested what that article is going to be about on Tuesday from Gal and Patty. Yeah, so am I. I'm really, really excited. I think it's, I assume it's Wonder Woman related. Imagine if it's not, how disappointing that would be. I mean, it would be ridiculous, right? If they announced filming for Wonder Woman 3 before the actual studio does. That would be absolutely ridiculous. It's interesting Rowling gave Mickelson the freedom to craft his own backstory, allowing the actor to put his unique stamp. Mickelson came into the Fantastic Beasts franchise in a difficult position by replacing Depp. So it's nice to see he wasn't boxed in creatively. His idea makes Grindelwald somewhat of an empathetic character, as the audience could at least understand where he's coming from, even if they don't fully agree with his methods. It would appear Rowling's approach paid off, even though Fantastic Beasts 3 earned mixed reviews from critics. Mickelson's performance is seen as one of the film's highlights. Mickelson is keen to continue playing the character, but whether or not he gets that chance remains to be seen. To the Fantastic Beasts series, but it's since been revealed Fantastic Beasts 4 has not been greenlit yet. Warner Brothers is waiting to see how The Secrets of Dumbledore performs at the box office before deciding on the franchise's future. If the film is able to be rebound from its underwhelming international debut and post stronger numbers, perhaps Mickelson will peel back additional layers of his Grindelwald backstory in the next installment, shed more light on the villain's rich history. Ronnie Dodge, I definitely think it's Wonder Woman 3 related. Yeah, look, it'll be interesting, Ronnie, because as I say, it shouldn't be them that should have the exclusive on Wonder Woman 3. The studio should be relating from their marketing department. It's not the way it should be done. But I am excited to hear some news of what's going on with this film, even though Patty Jenkins being involved is very problematic, in my opinion. So there's Mads Mikkelsen. He's set his own backstory for his character Grindelwald in the latest Fantastic Beasts movie, Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore. And it's great that J.K. Rowling didn't put a stop to that. But maybe it doesn't affect anything anyway. It was a little thing. So that's cool. Right, where am I? Where am I? Bat Super, Wonder Woman 1994 next. Apparently it will be set in the modern time. Ronnie Dodge, yeah, definitely agree. Hopefully Patty puts things right and gets redemption for Wonder Woman 84. Well, I hope so, Ronnie. Yeah, I hope so, Ronnie. I really do. Nothing would make me more happy. She comes across as a lovely lady, but she did a lot of wrong things there. It was very passive aggressive. I felt she still was bitter about not getting what she wanted in the first film. And that was for her to say, yeah, look, I've done it. And, you know, it didn't work. And it's a shame because Wonder Woman, like Superman, is an iconic character. And they deserve not just to not be on the shelf, but to be done like, you know, Zach helped and Alan Heinborg helped to do in the first movie and in BVS. It's very, very important. Let's see what happens. Hideo Kojima comments on Sony buyout rumors. Amid rumors about PlayStation potentially acquiring Kojima Productions, Hideo Kojima has stated that his company will remain independent. And actually, I wasn't supposed to read this, but that's good news, by the way. That's the wrong one. Why did I go there anyway? Right, let's go to Elizabeth Moss. We all know Elizabeth Moss, right? Yes, I basically read the wrong article. Ronnie Dodge. With David in charge now, she can't do a small-scale third act like Wonder Woman 84. To go all out. Yeah, listen, with David Zaslav, look, this is going to be a big problem now with the existing people who have been there all along. You know, there's going to be a remit from Zaslav. He's going to want to make a lot of money a movie. He's going to want to thrill fans and make fans. Look, there's going to be a lot of things going on. So it'll be very interesting what actually happens to all these movies, especially ones that haven't been greenlit since David's been in charge. So it's interesting. Elizabeth Moss opens up on losing power of the dog run. Actor Elizabeth Moss has opened up about missing out on appearing in the acclaimed film Power of the Dog, and Kristen Dunst taking her place. Well, as much as Elizabeth Moss is a very good actor, what's her name? Kirsten Dunst. How can I forget her name? MJ, Spider-Man. But she's great, and I think the better actress got the part. Ronnie Dodge, I think the budget should be similar to the first, which was just over 100 million. Yeah, it was a smaller budget scale. It did look like a very small budget film, and there was a lot of missed opportunities. Some of the CGI wasn't great. Very sad. Actor Elizabeth Moss has opened up about missing out on appearing in the acclaimed film Power of the Dog. The Power of the Dog, helmed by Jane Campion and based upon the novel by Thomas Savage, tells the story of rancher Phil Burbank, Benedict Cumberbatch, who torments his brother's new wife and son until he finds himself exposed to the possibility of love. Along with Cumberbatch, The Power of the Dog also stars Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons. Upon its release, the film received critical acclaim, as well as being nominated for 12 Academy Awards, for which Campion took home Best Director. 80s Rewind the Times 90. Hey Bud, 80s Rewind the Times 90s excited about the future of DC. John, will we have to wait and see what WB announced on May the 18th? I think so. Ronnie Dodge, Trill J, why are you being... right, we're not reading that. What some may not know, although I do appreciate the sentiments, Ronnie, but I would prefer us just to keep it positive, and any negativity, just ignore it. I'm here to talk about entertainment, DC live action, have some banter with the people who are here for the right reasons. Anything else doesn't interest me, and I will just ignore it. And I would advise you do the same as well. What some may not know is that actor Moss, and that's not Trill J. What some may not know is, but I don't want to talk about the individual or anything else. Ronnie Dodge, yeah, okay, mate, positive. What some may not know is that actor Moss was originally in talks to star in the film instead of Dunst. Moss has previously worked with Campion on the television series Top of the Lake, which ran for 2 seasons. Between 2013 and 2017, the series tells the story of a detective on the trail of a disappeared 12-year-old girl in New Zealand, and along with Moss saw many Hollywood heavy hitters guest star, including Gwendolyn Christie, Holly Hunter, and Nicole Kidman. After Top of the Lake's completion, Moss was to star in The Power of the Dog. However, it seems it was not meant to be. In a recent interview with Empire, Moss has opened up about her thoughts on missing out on a role in The Power of the Dog. While Moss has not revealed the specific reason she did not appear in the film, she has stated that she truly wished she could have done it. She has clarified that there is no bad blood between her and Campion, saying that sometimes these things just don't work out. That is not anyone's fault. See her full quote below. It's hard because I really, really wanted to do it, and Jane and I talked about it for a couple of years. But she and I have been very kind to each other in that process, knowing that sometimes these things just don't work out, and it's not really anyone's fault. No, it's no one's fault. You want to keep on getting work, love. That's why you say it. Ronnie Dodge, just thinking, is upfront like Disney's Investors Day or D23. It is similar. They're basically going to announce all the, for the next 12 months, I think they're going to announce their slates for the next 12 months, and they have to answer to investors and things like that. It'll be very interesting what's said. I will warn you, it may not be that exciting, but it may have some interesting kind of directions to where we're heading with Discovery. Moss has gone on to praise Dunst's portrayal of the character in The Power of the Dog. The actress has stated that she was even glad it was Dunst who finally won the role. Of course, yeah, as she respects her as an actress so much. She, of course, is not the only one who feels this way, as Dunst wound up being nominated for an Oscar for her performance in The Power of the Dog, as did Jesse Plemons, who portrays her husband in the film and is also her partner in real life. Ultimately, it is now hard to imagine anyone else in the role. Basically, they put in a real-life couple, and that's why the other actress didn't get the role. Wow. Because now couples have to be real, because maybe the male actor wasn't happy about someone touching his wife. This is where we are now in entertainment today. While Moss has stated that she was happy Dunst took the role, she has made it clear that she would certainly jump at the chance to work with Campion again. Perhaps fans of Top of the Lake will get a reunion in the future. Moss certainly hasn't ruled it out, so the possibility remains, while it is hard to imagine the film any other way, fans can perhaps return to The Power of the Dog and see if they can imagine Moss performing as memorably in the role as Dunst. So, who remembers Alicia Cuthbert from 24? She did something very extreme while she was playing her character in The House of Wax. House of Wax star had lips glued for real for horror remake. House of Wax star Alicia Cuthbert reveals she had her lips glued for real while the horror remake as they struggled to shoot the scene by Grant Hermans of Screen Rant. House of Wax star Alicia Cuthbert reveals she had her lips glued for real while filming the House horror remake as they struggled to shoot the scene. The 2005 film served as the third adaptation of Charles S. Belden's short story, The Waxworks, and was a loose remake of both 93's Mystery of the Wax Museum and the Vincent Price-led House of Wax. The story for the remake revolves around the group of college students who had find themselves trapped in a small town with a wax museum run by a pair of murderous conjoined twin brothers who turn their victims into the latest displays. Cuthbert led the cast of the House of Wax remake alongside Chad Michael Murray, Brian Van Holt in a dual role. Paris Hilton, Jared Padalecki, John Abrams, and Robert Richard directed the Black Adam's Jamais Collet-Serra on a script from the future, The Conjuring scribes, Chad and Carrie Hayes. The film was poorly received by critics upon its release, I'm not surprised. With criticism directed at its formalic plot and uninteresting characters, well, look at the actors you chose. While expressing some positives regarding its performances and atmosphere despite the negative reviews, House of Wax was a modest box office success, grossing over 70 million against its 40 million budget and developing a minor cult following in the years since its release. In a recent interview with Bloody Disgusting, Alicia Cuthbert looked back on her time making the House of Wax horror remake. The actress revealed she had her lips glued for real in one sequence as she and the filmmaker struggled to find a way to make it work without looking ridiculous. What, you couldn't just put your lips on? Oh my God. And then she suggested going completely practical for the moment. She see what Cuthbert shared below. Man, some really intense days, we couldn't figure out how to do the lip gluing without making it look ridiculous. I had to be strained and fighting for my life, but I had to somehow find a way to keep my mouth pried closed. So it just wasn't working. And I finally said to the prop guys, just get the glue, just get the real glue. So we ended up really gluing my lips, not with crazy glue, but with something very similar. So I could not pry them apart. There was no real other way to do it without it looking silly. So we went for it. Sorry, this is a lack of acting talent. This is a lack of going to drama school and learning these kind of mimickings. And to actually glue your fucking lips for real. I tell you what, I love acting. I love directing. I love the art form. But there's no fucking way I'd do that. And some people might call it a lack of commitment. I call it a lack of being insane. The House of Wax scene in question saw Cuthbert's Carly captured by one of the brothers and kept in the basement of the town's gas station, with the brother gluing her lips sealed in the hopes of keeping her quiet as her brother comes looking for her. Cuthbert's willingness to glue her lips sealed for real, albeit with one not as rigid as superglue, shows a strong devotion from the actress to help make the scene look and feel as realistic as possible and help make the audience squirm. House of Wax wasn't Cuthbert's first or last time in the horror genre. Having first rose to fame on Nickelodeon's original Are You Afraid of the Dark series and later appearing in controversial torture porn film Captivity. And guess why people watch the torture porn one? Yeah, because Alicia has always been fit. I know her for 24, where I thought she was a very solid actress in it. At the time of its release, House of Wax made numerous headlines with its marketing campaign centering itself around Paris Hilton's death in the film, with one memorable slogan even explicitly stating, "See Paris die." Though the film may not have been a critical darling upon its release, the marketing campaign ultimately worked in its favour at the box office, and the remake has since gone on to garner some retrospective positive reviews from the horror community for its brutal kills and effective atmosphere. Audiences can revisit the House of Max remake, as it's available to stream on Canopy. Well, I don't subscribe to Canopy, whatever that is. So anyway. 80s Rewind at times 90s. Thank you, Mick, for doing these videos daily. You are very welcome. 80s Rewinds at times 90s. She was beautiful. I'm sure she still is. I still would, I'm sure. And I'm sure she would as well. I mean, look at me. A guy who wears the same shirt every day, who shaves his head. I mean, what an attractive proposition. But it's all about what I've got downstairs that really helps me out, you see. Too much information? Idris Elba confirms Luther movie has wrapped filming. I love Luther and I'm very excited about this. Idris Elba, who stars as the detective John Luther, confirms that Netflix's Luther movie, continuing the hit BBC series, has finished production by Adam Benz of Screen Rant. Idris Elba confirms the Luther movie has completed filming, premiering in 2010. The BBC series of the same name stars the English actor as the dedicated director, Detective John Luther, who makes cases against criminals who develops a complicated relationship with. The brilliant psychopath and murderer Alice Morgan, played by Ruth Wilson, Luther ran for a total of 5 seasons consisting of 20 episodes, garnering plenty of critical acclaim in the process, mostly for Elba's performance as Luther, which won him numerous awards, including a Golden Globe. Talk of a Luther movie began early as 2012, though it didn't start filming until November 2021. Luther creator Neil Cross wrote the script for the film, while Jamie Payne, who helmed season 5 of the show, has come on board to direct the movie. Also introduced new characters not seen in the show, including Lord of the Rings star Serkis as the villain and Academy. Award-nominated actress Cynthia Erivo as a rival detective. Now more good news has arrived for the Luther movie. Elba has confirmed that the Luther movie has wrapped filming. The actor revealed the news during the interview on Sirius XM, the Jess Cable show, while he was promoting his most recent project, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, in which he voices Knuckles. Elba says he finished filming about 3 weeks ago, and it was a grim shoot. Considering the dark nature of the morally ambiguous detective, read what he shared below. I finished filming like about 3 weeks ago. It was a grim shoot. Oh my gosh, it's all fun and games. I'm reading the script. I'm like, and then he does what? Oh wow, this is incredible. And then I'm actually doing it. I find myself freezing in some cave or something. During the interview, Elba also confirmed the Luther movie picks up after season 5, which saw his titular character placed in handcuffs. Elba also says that audiences who are unfamiliar with the events of the show or have no idea who Luther is will still be able to enjoy the film, since it tells a standalone story. The movie will be released on Netflix, and considering the streaming service's vast subscriber base, many viewers will likely go into it without having seen the BBC series. When that will be remains unclear, as the Luther movie does not yet have a release date, though the second half of this year will be a safe bet. Elba's career has become a long way in a short time since he last played Luther in 2019, having since starred as the villain Braxton in Fast and the Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, and as Bloodsport in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. He's now one of the more highly sought-after actors working today. It should be entertaining to see him sink back into one of his more critically acclaimed roles as the brooding detective. If nothing else, the Luther movie should reignite interest in seeing Elba play James Bond, as the BBC series has done for years. Unlike Benedict Cumberbatch, this guy has gone back to his roots and is grateful for what Luther did with him. And it's great that he went back, he did this. And I can't wait to see this movie. Tyrese Gibson sparks MCU Blade role rumours with vague new image post. Weeks after appearing in Morbius, Tyrese Gibson sparks speculation that he's been cast in the MCU's Blade movie, starring can't say the name, I know who he is, Mahershala Ali. Right, say it like that, by Cooper Hood of Screen Rant. Tyrese Gibson sparks speculation he's joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Blade. Following a vague social media post, Marvel Studios announced plans to make a Blade movie in 2019 when Kevin Feige brought Mahershala Ali out on stage at San Diego Comic-Con. After a few years without many updates on the movie, there is finally starting to be movement. Blade is being written by Stacey Osel-Kuffour and directed by Bassam Tariq, with Marvel Studios reportedly planning to begin production later this year. As a result, Ali started to get some supporting cast members in recent months. As it currently stands, there are only two handful of actors linked to appearances in the MCU Blade movie. The Five Bloods star Gilderoy Lockhart was the first actor to join the film in an undisclosed role, while Krypton's Aaron Pear landed a secret coveted role in early 2022. There has been much speculation that Blade will also see Kit Harington return as Dane Whitman after Eternals post-credit scene connected his future as Black Knight to Ali's character. However, Marvel needs much more than 4 actors to make the Vampire Hunter movie, and now there's speculation a recent Marvel vampire movie star is set to appear. Gibson is only a few weeks removed from appearing in Sony's Morbius, where he played FBI agent Simon Stroud, who hunted down Jared Leto's vampire. Now the Morbius and Fast and Furious actor has sparked speculation he's going to be in Blade. Thanks to a vague Instagram post, he shared a selfie and image of Blade with a caption that reads, "We on." The confusing image has ignited rumours that Tyrese Gibson has joined MCU's Blade movie in some capacity. So, yeah, that is very interesting, isn't it? Wow. So this is it, if you're interested. And you can follow Tyrese Gibson, of course, on Instagram. But yeah, he could be in the movie. Gibson's Blade tease can be read in several different ways. Some have pointed out the similarities between Gibson's facial hair and how Blade looks in the selected comic panel, so the actor could think that is a fun coincidence. Others interrupted the photo as the actor campaigning to play Blade, even though Marvel Studios cast All in the role nearly 3 years ago. It's also odd that Gibson chose a panel where Blade says, "We've all got a whole lot of vampires to kill," as he could be hoping that Simon Stroud and Blade will cross over to fight vampires. After all, Gibson previously claimed Morbius was set in the MCU, so he might believe that this is a possibility. Maybe he's just trying to get a job. If Gibson does have a role in Blade, it will likely be announced soon. This would likely come with a brand new role, since Simon Stroud and Morbius exist in a different universe. The lines between the MCU and Sony's Spider-Man universe would continue to be blurred as a result, which is already happening as Kraven the Hunter uses several MCU actors in different roles. If there is no news on this front from here on out, then it will be safe to assume that Gibson isn't joining the MCU with Blade. Who knows? It's a big hint, or maybe, as I say, he's touting for a job. The Batman's Barry Coogan arrested for public order incident. Barry Coogan, who played the Joker in the Batman, has been arrested in North Dublin in what has been described as a public order incident by Ryan Northrop of Screen Rant. The actor behind the Batman's newly introduced Joker, Barry Coogan, was arrested in Dublin last weekend for a public order incident. Since rising to popularity in 2016's The Killing of a Sacred Deer, Coogan has appeared in several notable releases, including The Green Knight and last year's Eternals. Although the reception to Eternals was mixed from both audiences and critics, the actor isn't done with superhero fare just yet, recently popping up for a brief scene in The Batman. Directed by Matt Reeves, The Batman introduced a brand new take on Gotham City and the Cape Crusader, this time played by Robert Pattinson. While the main villain for Pattinson's Batman is the Riddler, Paul Dano, Coogan does make an appearance in the film as an unseen Arkham prisoner, a disfigured, giggling prisoner who makes friends with Riddler. After the two became cell neighbours, many quickly theorised that the character was Reeves' take on the Joker, a theory that was confirmed shortly after the release of the film, when a deleted scene between Coogan and Pattinson's character was posted online, giving audiences a closer look at this new version of the Joker. A new report from the Irish newspaper Independent IE reveals that Coogan was recently arrested in his hometown of Dublin after the police responded to what has been described as a public order incident. The police are said to have responded to a complaint from North Dublin residents who reported a man on an apartment balcony in an intoxicated state shortly before 7 a.m. on Sunday, April the 10th. Coogan was reportedly non-confrontational throughout the incident and was released shortly after his arrest. Coogan's representatives have yet to issue a comment on the incident, but it would seem that the incident was only minor, with one source saying in a statement the matter is finalised and nothing more will come of it, although it's unclear what exactly the Batman's new Joker actor was doing on the balcony. The report states that one of Coogan's relatives lives at a property adjacent on the apartment in which the incident took place. Coogan's arrest comes after another notable legal issue involving a DC actor with the Flash star Ezra Miller, which is more serious, of course, and has put the film in jeopardy, of course, as we know, having been arrested in Hawaii for disorderly conduct and harassment. Due to the relatively minor nature of the incident, it seems unlikely that Coogan's career or his relationship with either Marvel or DC will be affected. While Miller's pattern of troubling behavior reportedly caused DC executives to call an emergency meeting, which they denied, of course, regarding the actor's future as the Flash, no such meeting has yet been called regarding Coogan. A sequel to The Batman is yet to be officially greenlit, but many already consider it a sure thing due to the success of the first film. It's not clear if Coogan will reprise his role as the Joker for any subsequent movies, but the Batman and recently released deleted scenes suggest that Coogan's clone Prince of Crime could play an important role in the franchise moving forward. Basically, it's something over nothing. It's not a big deal. I don't know what happened. He got pissed. He was probably on the top of a balcony. Maybe he was being a bit dangerous and they were worried about his safety. And that's why the police were called. So all's well. That ends well, thankfully. Star Wars Bryce Dallas Howard visited Natalie Portman on prequel set. Bryce Dallas Howard reveals that she met Natalie Portman at a summer camp when they were teenagers and visited her on the set of the Star Wars prequels by Brendan Klein. Bryce Dallas Howard revealed that she visited Natalie Portman while she was filming the Star Wars prequels. Portman, who is an Oscar winner for her role in Darren Aronofsky's ballet-themed psychological thriller Black Swan, that she didn't even do the moves for, but she claimed that she did, remember that? Began her career as a child actress in 1994. In 1999, she played Anakin Skywalker's future love interest, Queen Padme Amidala, in the Star Wars prequel The Phantom Menace, later reprising the role in the remaining entries in the trilogy. 2002's Attack of the Clones and 2005's Revenge of the Sith. The character passed away in childbirth with her twins, who would grow up to be iconic Star Wars characters Luke Skywalker and Leia Organa. Bryce Dallas Howard's involvement in the franchise came much later in her career, after she starred in blockbuster films including Spider-Man 3, The Twilight Saga Eclipse, and Jurassic World opposite Chris Pratt. Although she's best known for her work in front of the camera, when she stepped into the Star Wars universe, she took a role behind the scenes. She began by directing 2 episodes of Disney Plus's series The Mandalorian, starring Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian bounty hunter Din Djarin. Later, Howard followed that up by helming episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett, which featured the return of the Mandalorian and his young charge Grogu. While speaking with Romper, Howard was asked how well she knew Star Wars before she got involved in The Mandalorian. She admits that she didn't realize how steeped she was in the world of Star Wars until she looked back on her childhood. Her father, director Ron Howard, had a long-standing relationship with Star Wars creator George Lucas. In fact, he directed the George Lucas produced and co-written film Willow in 1998. But by the way, there's not something else, because Ron Howard, was actually in a George Lucas film. It was a film about racing cars. I forgot what it was called, but it was before he did Star Wars. Films Willow in 1988, and she befriended Natalie Portman when they were both at a summer camp as teenagers. When Portman was on set, she wanted a friend to come visit and Howard spent some time with her while she was playing Amidala. Read the full quote below. Right after we were at this camp together, she went and filmed the prequels. Since I knew George and I was friends with Natalie, and she was pretty young, she wanted to have a friend come out and visit. So I got to go out to the set. So when I actually got to direct on Mandalorian, I didn't realize how well I knew Star Wars, but I knew it pretty well. Of course, there's always more to learn. Yeah, I don't think visiting a mate at lunchtime is the same thing as actually knowing Star Wars. Not that you need to know it that well anyway. You've done your research, obviously. Ironically, despite their friendship, Howard and Portman have never appeared in a project together. The closest they've gotten was a live appearance at the televised ceremony for the 2017 SAG Awards. Portman was attempting as a nominee for her role as in the Jackie Kennedy biopic Jackie, for which she was also Oscar nominated, and Howard was there for her performance in the Black Mirror episode Nosedive. This unlikely friendship is proof that the Star Wars universe expands well beyond the constraints of the films and television shows themselves. The Star Wars franchise certainly wouldn't be the same without either of these inimitable women. While it's surprising that the third director of fan favourite episode has been involved in franchise for much longer than anyone might have known, it now makes perfect sense why she was the right choice for the job. So because she met a mate for lunch, she was the right person directing. You also said if it wasn't for these two women, Star Wars wouldn't be the same place. Two other people, one would have directed those episodes and someone else would have played Padme. She was great as Padme, but who are you fucking kidding, mate? Anyway, there you go. And one more article. I think I got a bit ahead of myself and ticked out more articles than I should have, and it's gone on a bit, unfortunately. And I did talk about Doctor Who a bit too long, and I'm getting a bit tired, so I'm definitely going to have to stop now. But we'll talk about this. Barbie movie cast promising young woman director and Chris Evans' brother. Warner Brothers live-action take on Barbie adds more to its already stacked cast, with Emerald Fennell and Scott Evans among those joining. By Kevin Warnstone, Warner Brothers and Mattel's new Barbie movie continue to fill out its cast, with Emerald Fennell and Scott Evans among the new faces boarding the project. They'll be joining star Margot Robbie and co-stars Ryan Gosling, America Ferrera, Kate McKinnon, Simu Liu, Ariana Greenblatt, Emma McKay, Alexandra Shipp, Harry Neff, Will Ferrell, Issa Rae, and Michael Cera. Greta Gerwig is directing and co-writing the film with her partner Noah Baumbach. So basically, you can see what they're doing here. This feminist Barbie movie has been plotted out by very respectful people from the industry. They're hoping to probably get some Oscar nods from this movie. This is going to be an unmitigating disaster. Deadline reports on the new additions to a cast already bringing with strong comedic talent. Emerald Fennell is an actress The Crown called The Midwife and a filmmaker who won a Best Original Screenplay Oscar for a film that could fit neatly with the ethos of this new Barbie. Promising young women, Scott Evans has primarily had supporting roles in the past, such as a recurring part on Grace and Frankie and a stint on the soap One Life to Live. He's also had minor roles in a few of his brother's Chris films, such as Before We Go. Also joining the cast of comedy icon Rhea Perlman, really. Cheers Matilda, Sid on Star Wars, The Bad Batch, and Kingsley Ben Adir, Malcolm X in One Night in Miami. The project had undergone several changes over time. Originally set to be written and star Amy Schumer, who split over creative differences with Gerwig and Baumbach behind the wheel of Barbie Mobile. This isn't likely to be a cheesy affair, probably more along the lines of Marriage Story than Mattel. Gerwig especially has a great track record with Lady Bird and Little Women of creating strongly feminist stories. With nuanced characters to this, Barbie is bound to be no different. So basically, right, they're using Barbie to do a nuanced feminist story. As I said, this is a disaster. Look, it's funny, right? So basically, Margot Robbie is leading the narrative of this, right? We've also heard there's already been creative differences with Amy Schumer. I don't know what that was about. But here's the thing. They are making a feminist Barbie movie. What child, right, is going to watch this movie? Who the fuck's going to watch Barbie anyway? Barbie was something from the 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe 90s. No one gives a fuck about Barbie anymore. But to cover their tracks, they're putting all these highly decorated, respected industry people and hope it can garner some respect. No, this film may never get to be seen. And wouldn't that be typical of Warner Brothers Pictures? After all, this has been the Movies TV Mad Daily Live. I'm Nick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. So until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. See you again soon.